Good evening, squad. It's day 428. Somewhere. I don't know. We're back. We're in the middle of the final chapter. I think we can maybe get through it tonight. We'll see. We'll see. There's a lot of things constantly exploding in this last chapter. So maybe we can, maybe we can get through it without all the explosions happening. Alright. Right, we got two new protagonists. And looks like we need to continue some storylines. Well, let's just jump in and see what happens. It's been a little while, so not sure I remember everything anyway. The area around Dogonzaga was in disarray. The government had declared a state of high alert. Right. The main roads were blocked, everything was at a standstill, cars were overturned. Any moment now, Kano's team would be putting their plan into action at the Scramble. Stanley wasn't sure who they might have gotten to help, but Kano was certain to put them to good use. Please stay safe. Don't you dare die on me. Stanley prayed silently as he darted underneath the railway overpass. He made it to his car, still parked on the roadside, and fortunately beyond the blocked off area. Now, last time we found out that the person, the actual person who's in charge of everything is pretending to be Kanan, and is on their way to the lab, so that's bad. Stanley figured it out, I think? Jumping in, he sped off toward the laboratory. Yeah, he did. I remember he did figure this out. He found a photo or something. Alright, so we have a keep out there. That's fine. Question is, do I have a jump to Kano? Ah, here we go. Jump to Stanley. It's probably what I need. Reverse Creations. Hey, thank you for that 2-month resub. This keeps my Ethernet cable safe, right? Sure. Alright, please be the right jump. That was not the right jump. That's not... Nope. Nope, don't care. Leaving. I need a jump for that. I need 1855. Does Tatano have? Tatano has a jump. Okay. It has to be this one. Right? Huzzah. As he drove along, Stanley again tried to deduce Alfred's plan of action. If Alfred herself was on the way to the lab now, then what was the objective of the fake who'd been sent to the Scramble? Indiscriminate terrorism, get Hitomi's blood, or to act as a decoy? Probably to act as a decoy. I mean, it doesn't matter if he gets Hitomi's blood. Specifically, if they can get the cure. Let's go with decoy. Surely that was the imposter's purpose, but it wouldn't be a simple matter of providing a brief distraction. Alfred had been careful to wipe out almost everyone she'd associated with in the past. That was precisely why all of her defining characteristics, such as age and sex and nationality, had been unknown. It was unthinkable that she'd allow this decoy, who almost certainly knew who she was, really, to stay alive. And since Hitomi carried the antiviral in her body, Alfred likely wanted to get rid of her as well. In all likelihood, the terrorist mastermind was planning to steal the antiviral from the lab, but as long as some of it remained in Hitomi's bloodstream, she wouldn't have a monopoly on it. Aha! Stanley suddenly blurted out. He just realized what Alfred hoped to accomplish at the scramble. She meant to eliminate both Hitomi and her own decoy at the same time. The question was how. Beginning with her bombings in Chicago, Alfred had made frequent use of remote-controlled explosives. Hey, Kavina. The plot congeals. This is the same as thickening, right? Maybe as... I don't know, I'm not a doctor. It was likely that she'd opt for something similar here as well. But she wasn't going to be at the scramble herself, so how in the world was she going to trigger the explosion? Was there some clue to be found in something she'd said or done earlier? Think. Try to remember. Think. Try to remember. If he didn't do something, everyone at the scramble was probably going to die. Then, as he desperately racked his brain, he remembered something Kano had said. It had been a while they were at the scene of the minivan explosion together. He said he heard a cell phone ringtone at the time of the explosion. Not sure if that's significant, though. Stanley recalled the recent exchange between Alfred and Hitomi. The two had called each other's cell phones. Alfred hadn't really been checking to make sure she had the right number. She's been checking to make sure Hitomi hadn't changed her ringtone. That was it! The bomb was set to detonate in response to a specific piece of music. That seems worrisome. And the ringtone on Hitomi's phone was the trigger. Where could the bomb be hidden then? Stanley didn't have time to think. He needed to alert Kano and the others right away. As he pulled out his phone again, he recalled the map of the stakeout positions. Kano would probably be right next to the decoyed Alfred. It might be a mistake to call him under the circumstances. Maybe he couldn't risk calling Kano, but he could call Achi. Stanley dialed Achi Endo's number. Please don't let me be too late, he muttered to himself as he waited for the call to connect. This game is silly. But although he called repeatedly, Achi didn't pick up. Was he already too late? Stanley dreaded the answer to that question. Hello, Keep Out. Yeah, why are you acting all dramatic? Alright. It's at 1905. I mean, there's technically a jump to Stanley here. Maybe now is a better time. Although... Oh, no, wait, that goes to 1825, regardless. Right. No, it says the time on the thing. I remember how this game works. I just don't pay attention to it. I feel like I might have to play out one of these. Read that as time church and now I can't not. may need to just plan one of these out. Plan one of these out. It's good to review all this, right? Everyone likes to see explosions happen again. Why did he still seem so confident? Something definitely didn't feel right. I still think he really doesn't care if he survives. It's pretty likely. Oh. Come on, let's see you very coolly throw that up again. Yes, they went out. Gotta catch 'em all. We know they're all fake, though. Spinning around in the midst of chaos, Achi saw Susume catch one vial deftly. Many of the other gang members appeared to have done the same. There's one more, over there! The desperate shout had come from Hitomi. She'd spotted a vial sailing in a high arc away from all the SOS members. Damn it! Achi launched into motion, ignoring the searing pain in his leg, but the falling vial was so far away. Yeah! It was now or never. He threw himself into a head-first slide. Nice catch! The gang members broke out into cheering and applause. Achi got to his feet and looked around, but saw no sign of either Kano or Alfred. Hey Achi, if you're looking for the detective... Susume gestured with his chin. Achi looked and saw Kano far away across the scramble, chasing after Alfred. Soon, both men were lost in the crowd. Achi would have charged off in pursuit as well, but his wounded leg made that impossible. Get him, detective, he murmured under his breath. We're counting on you. And then things exploded anyway. Bibit Nor, hey, thank you for that resub. Welcome back. Before he could complete a sentence, a massive explosion blasted Achi off his feet. Tiny bits of metal tore through his arms, legs, and torso. Wow, that sounds painful. He crashed to the ground and crumpled like a tattered rag. There were screams coming from all directions. As Achi started to fade from consciousness, the voices got softer and softer. Through the haze of pain, he saw a bloodied arm stretch out before him. He saw a hand that had been clasped with his hand all day long. This is a bad end, very clearly. The fingers feebly reached out for him, and Achi intertwined them with his own. It took the very last of his strength. Then both hands subsided into stillness. Bad end. I wish they put the jump times in the screen where the jump I can read is. Pulling out his cell phone, Kano dialed up Osawa. As he did, he recalled his last exchange with Stanley. Yeah, it's too early. Looks like we'll be able to have that beer together after all. Alright, so explosion is because of a song. Is that... I have to figure out who's phoning that phone. And and stop the phone call thing from happening. Is that in Tatano's timeline? Yeah. I think it might be. Alright, stop. We don't have time for this nonsense. She shook her head to put her phone away. Okay. If you're really Alphard, then you don't actually need to hack the password, Tatano said. Guessing you already gotten it from Tanaka, which means you'll be able to get your hands on the antiviral as soon as you get into that lab. Cannon didn't do so much as flinch. The only thing stopping you is the antiviral still in Hitomi Osawa's body. If that's true, then how am I planning on getting rid of her? Using this so-called substitute Alphard or something? Yes, that's right. Tatano couldn't be certain, but he couldn't think of any other way. Cannon let out a laugh. You don't know the first thing about Alphard, she said. Alphard keeps the outlines of his plans blurred so that his deliberate actions just get lumped in with the coincidences. That's the crux of all his plans. That's how he's able to pull off his schemes by himself. He'd never solicit help from a third party. The words seemed like they were Cannon's, but also seemed like they were Alphard's. Okay, we called Kano, so everything's fine. The young detective was quick to pick up. Detective Tatiano, what's going on? Oh, yeah, that was different before, wasn't it? You need to get Hitomi Osawa to safety immediately. Alfred isn't trying to get out her blood. He wants her eliminated. What? Hurry. Yes, sir. Once he got in Kano's confirmation, Tatiano hung up. Nice. And now, your little plan has been foiled, Tatano said. Cannon snorted. Has it now? If I really am Alphard, then all I need to do is eliminate you here and head right into that lab. Even without her gun raised, she still radiated intimidation. Tatano might have had her at gunpoint, but he could feel the threat of her presence like a gathering storm. Eliminate me, he said, doing his best to mask any sign of weakness. You're the one who doesn't have your gun ready. I don't need my gun, Cannon said simply. And why is that? Because you can't shoot me. Let me tell you about all the things that I absolutely heard when you were talking on that roof and you can't do anything. Aha. I can get farther now. I don't think I need to go through the rest of this. I think I just needed that phone call. Yep. Pulling out his cell phone, Kano dialed up Osawa. As he did, he recalled his last exchange with Stanley. Phone rang several times before Osawa picked up. It's Kano. I have the password. Are you serious? Osawa blurted in shock. Here, let me give it to you. Are you ready? Yes. 59FVA-I4QL1. You know, standard password. As he passed along the alphanumeric sequence, Kano kept his eyes on Palmer. The man stared back at him with an expression of bitter defeat. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Then at last, Osawa's excited voice came through. That did it. It opened. The lock opened. Kano let out a deep breath of utter relief. Palmer snorted. You're really satisfied with catching me and saving the life of one girl? I suppose it's the Japanese way to forget the pain that's been visited upon you. But it's not over. The bloodshed will continue. All over the world. Women, children, the elderly, innocent, all will bleed. Because absolute justice is on our side. Is that right? Kano drove his fist into Palmer's face. Approved. There was no such thing as absolute justice. It was the kind of blind faith that kept the world in conflict. Well, this sure is quite the mess. Whirling around in surprise, Kano saw Kuze standing there. Director Kuze! He bowed his head apologetically. He may have apprehended the criminal mastermind, but only because he'd ignored a direct order to place Maria under quarantine. I'm sorry, sir, but save the apology, Kuze interrupted. You're the one who solved the case. You did good, kid. Once again, Kano bowed, this time even more deeply. Oh, and one more thing, Kano. Yes, sir? Sasayama has regained consciousness. I thought you'd like to know. Oh, his friend's not dead. Oh, Sasayama, they were able to save him? I got a call from the hospital. Looks like he's going to pull through. That's great. Really great news. Tears of relief came to Kano's eyes. And if Osawa was able to get the lock at the lab open, he should also have been able to get Maria the antiviral without any further difficulty. You know, except for probably some stuff that is going down over there. Kano dragged Palmer to his feet, then undid the handcuff from his own wrist, using it to properly bind his captive. The metal ring snapped shut with a soft, satisfying click. Palmer limply hung his head. It was over. It was all finally over. Overly early celebrating. Yep. It really had been quite a day, Kano reflected. Beyond all the challenges he'd faced, he'd come face to face with his own shortcomings. Now he knew what a long way he had to go to be the man he wanted to be. But at least he'd learned what it truly meant to be a detective. Kuze was muttering to himself nearby. I mean, you don't even look alike, but... The director shook his head and cleared his throat. You know, Kano, for a second there, you look just like Tateno. Really, sir? Kano smiled, fussing sheepishly with his hair. Kuze's words were the finest praise he could have asked for. Someday, he hoped he really might be a detective like Tateno. No, he decided he would be. And until then, he'd never give up on that dream. It might be a long, long road, but he would walk it. Is Tateno the banana guy? No, that's, Kajiwara. Tateno is the man with the cane. The one who wrote the that he kept writing all those dictums about. Kano looked up into the sky. The neon lights of the city shone from all over. This was the same old Shibuya that it always was, but one that he looked at now with new eyes. Oh, I have a keep out. Okay, wasn't expecting that. Can I get to the part where stuff doesn't explode? Aji would have charged off in pursuit. His leg, get him. I'm counting on you. Then the explosion didn't happen. But everything did go dark. Okay, found it. Alright. Should be able to do this now, I think. Can I skip some of it? I can skip up to here. Specific piece of music, the one on Hitomi's phone. Gotta call Kano. Might be a mistake to call him. Maybe he couldn't risk calling Kano, but he could call Achi, right. Stanley dialed his number, and he should be okay to answer now. Aha. Now we have to jump point for Achi, so that's good. Achi was quick to pick up. Mr. Stanley? What's going on? Keep out. Hi, game. I'd like to make some progress. You keep telling me to go away, though. Alright, let's jump to Stanley, then. Stanley. No, Achi. Eventually, Achi spotted Kano on the far edge of the crowd. The detective pumped his fist in victory. It looked like he'd gotten Alfred to cough up the password. Thank goodness. Finally, some really good news. Ah, yeah, just wait for the shoe to drop. Now Hitomi and Maria were both safe. A surge of relief ran through Achi's body. And then his phone rang and everything was bad again. It was Stanley. Mr. Stanley, what's going on? How did the negotiations go? Achi quickly filled him in on the good news. The detective caught Alfred. He got him to give up the password, and I think he's called the folks at the lab. Does that mean the case is closed, then? No, not yet. Right now, I need you to do exactly as I tell you. For a moment, Achi's head swam. This isn't over yet? Why? What's going on? If you want to save Hitomi, then shut up and listen, Stanley barked. Alright, tell me what to do. First, you need to power down Hitomi's cell phone. Turn off her phone? What for? Was Stanley serious or just messing with him? I'm pretty sure that there's a bomb somewhere near your location. A bomb? Achi's voice squeaked into falsetto. The guy that Kano just apprehended is a decoy. The real Alfred is planning to eliminate Hitomi, the false Alfred, at the same time. Eliminate both Hitomi and his own decoy? Why would he do that? Stop asking questions, boy! And if the guy they just captured was a fake, then who was the real Alfred? He couldn't wrap his head around it. The more he tried, the more his thoughts became a jumbled mess. Just power down the phone already! Listen, first turn off that cell phone. Then go and look for the bomb. Okay, got it. Right now you just need to do what Stanley told him to do. Yes? He didn't have time to make sense of the situation. Hanging up, he called out to Hitomi. Hitomi, you have to turn off your cell phone. She stared back at him, too confused to act. Look, just hurry up and do it. Right, okay. Pulling her cell phone from her pocket, she powered the switch off. Then as she turned to Kano's direction. Detective, he shouted. Kano was looking toward him, seemingly already aware that something was amiss. Detective, that's not the real Alfred. He's a fake. A fake? Kano looked understandably shocked. Yeah, I just got a call from Stanley. He said the real Alfred is planning to get rid of both Hitomi and the fake with some kind of bomb. Could you two not have this conversation in not yelling terms? This seems like a great way to make everyone panic. Kano hurriedly turned back to the fake Alfred and began a fresh barrage of questions. Meanwhile, Achi's mind was racing again. If the bomb was meant to wipe out both Hitomi and the imposter, it would have to be pretty powerful, so it couldn't be anything particularly small. Where could the bomb be hidden then? Achi scanned the area, but didn't spot any place that seemed plausible. Kano made his way over to Hitomi. Pardon me, miss. I just need to search you real quick. Wait, had Hitomi been planted with a bomb? Achi, keep an eye on this guy, Kano said. If he tries anything funny, feel free to punch his lights out. Oh, sure. Achi took up watch over the decoy, Alfred. The guy was handcuffed, but he was still a diabolical terrorist. Achi knew he couldn't let his guard down for a moment. He kept a close eye on the fake, ready to knock him cold at the first sign of mischief. Meanwhile, Kano continued to search Hitomi. Did you buy all the jewelry and accessories you're wearing yourself? Yes, most of them. The ring I got from my sister. What about your clothes? Oh, I bought them just this afternoon. The top I was wearing before got torn. I see. Then as Kano continued to search, he cried out suddenly in realization. Hitomi, you have to give me your cell phone. It's a bomb. Hitomi hurriedly pulled out her cell phone and handed it to Kano. Achi looked on in alarm as he realized the detective was going to turn the phone on. Stop! Don't turn that thing on! Kano froze at Achi's sudden shout. Why not? The detective quirked a quizzical eyebrow. I don't know. It's just that Stanley said he told me to make sure her phone stayed off. The blood drained visibly from Kano's face. Quickly pulling out his own cell phone, Kano dialed up the police. He launched into a discussion involving a lot of cop jargon that made no sense to Hachi. But one thing seemed clear. Hitomi's phone itself might be the bomb. But wait. Hachi found himself doubting the phone bomb idea. If Hitomi hadn't brought her cell phone with her, what would have happened then? Would there have just mean there would have been no explosion here? He didn't buy it. Surely Alfred would have thought of a way to eliminate Hitomi the decoy crook, whether she had her phone on her or not. It was too worrying a prospect to ignore. And she waited impatiently for Kano to hang up, then asked, "Well, what do we do?" "For now, just let me handle this. We don't know when or how this thing might explode. You guys get out of here." "We'll put it on the ground." Kano set the cell phone down on the ground and started to put some distance between himself and it. As she followed after him, dragging the fake Alfred along. It's still a pretty crowded square. I don't know that that's the best idea. The bomb went off anyway. Suddenly, there was a tremendous boom and a furious impact ripped through Hachi's body. "I knew it," Hachi thought as he lay crumpled on the pavement. I was the worst kind of right. Hitomi's cell phone was powered off. So it couldn't have been the bomb. Something else must have exploded instead. It was the last thought Hachi ever had. Got you on a bad end, which... Did I not have... Yeah, your jump was to Achi. I need to jump to you. Right, it's this one. Yeah, I need to unlock all the bad ends anyway, so it's not like it's a big deal. It's just like, when people are like, I was right. And I'm like, yes, but you're dead. You were the wrong kind of right. Please don't let me do too late. Waited for the call to connect. Hachi was quick to pick up. How did the negotiations go? Detective caught him. He got him to give up the password and called the folks at the lab, and so case closed, right? Not yet. I need you to do this thing. Oh, why? What's going on? Just shut up and listen, okay? What do I do? You need to power down Hitomi's cell phone. What? Why? It's not how we said. You're supposed to just listen to me, dude. Pretty sure it's a bomb somewhere near your location. Stanley tried to keep his voice as calm and steady as possible. A bomb? Hachi's voice squeaked into falsetto. He's a decoy. Didn't have time to explain that Cannon was Alfred. Besides, it would only confuse the matter all the more at this point. Listen, first turn off that cell phone, then go and look for the bomb. Okay. Hachi hung up. Alright, now that I'm done talking on the phone, hopefully the team at the Scramble would be able to pull through. Now Stanley needed to focus on capturing Alfred. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel. His emotions were coming on far too strongly for him to keep them in check. In the back of his mind, Stanley thought about the last he'd ever seen of Frank. There had been nothing left of his brother but a bloodied hand reaching out from beneath the rubble. Even since that day, since that very moment, I think that was supposed to say ever. Ever since that day, since that very moment, Jack Stanley had sworn vengeance upon Alfred. He would never forget the rage he'd felt at having what was left of his family taken from him. Hey Jack, once this is all tidied up, I'm gonna need a drink. We're gonna have a beer together. It'll be great. Yeah, sounds fine. Stanley sprang into action, but all the while he couldn't help but worry about Frank. We've got almost 30 minutes left. He'll be fine. Backup will definitely be here in time. He did his utmost to reassure himself, but still the doubts gnawed. When the bomb squad descended upon the area clad in their protective gear, Stanley shot a look at his watch. Protective gear. Explosive ordnance disposal suits, commonly called bomb suits or blast suits, worn during bomb disposal operations to protect the wearer from shock of a blast or from any hurled fragments an explosion may produce. Such a suit is, however, wholly inadequate to protect the wearer from a large, powerful explosion. Alright. He felt a surge of relief. Only about 15 minutes had passed. There was still plenty of time for them to deactivate the bomb with their liquid nitrogen. Thank God. Frank's going to be alright, but he got no chance to relish that thought. There was an ear-splitting boom as a powerful shockwave shook the area. Stanley whirled back around, staring in horror at the place that his brother had been. Nothing remained but a mound of rubble. A later investigation would reveal that the timer on the bomb's exterior had been a mere ruse. The explosive was never linked to a timer at all. Instead, it had been detonated via remote control. Remote control is when electrical detonators capable of triggering an explosion with electrical current were invented. They quickly rendered old-style fuses obsolete. In the modern day, many terrorists use small electronics such as cellular phones and keyless entry remotes for cars as explosive triggers. So that's not a fun fact at all. Alfred had deceived them, using a visible timer to lull them into a false sense of security. Stanley had managed to save many lives that day, to be sure, but it had come at the cost of his own brother's life. Had he really made the best decisions he could have made? He was still asking himself the same question, over and over, even now. But no matter how much he blamed himself, it wouldn't bring Frank back. If there was one thing he could still do for his brother, it was getting revenge on Alfred with his own hands. Stanley had been in constant pursuit of Alfred ever since. He would stoop to any level for information without remorse. His opponent was someone who would do anything at all to achieve a goal. It only made sense for him to do the same. At some point, he'd stopped even hesitating to get his own hands dirty. He would charge headlong into any danger if he sensed Alfred's presence. Even his own life was a price he was willing to pay in the name of vengeance. He could never hope to latch his jaws onto his quarry's throat if he behaved like prey himself. He must be the greater predator. He would cast aside his humanity. It would become a blood-stained beast if that improved his chances at the hunt. For the hunt was all that mattered. Pursuit of Alfred had become his only purpose. Alright, seems very dramatic. So it had been for the past 2 years now. Those years flashed through Stanley's mind in the blink of an eye. Hey Darkmoor Fruit, thank you for resubscribing. A baker's dozen. Where's the time gone? Yeah, 13 months. Oh my goodness, it's been a long time. I was just thinking about how the Discord's nearly been around for a while too at this point. The other day. As he came back into the moment, he marveled at his own ferocity and at the depth of the wound he'd suffered. Alright, arresting her's not enough. If I don't sink to her level, I'll never be able to beat her. I don't know if any of these are right. If I do get my revenge, what would Frank think? When Stanley pictured his younger brother, it wasn't with a smile on his face. The realization gave him pause. In the end, killing Alfred wouldn't bring his brother back. That went without saying. But although he could see, now, that revenge was an absurd goal, his heart still churned deep and dark with resentment. Finally, the Okoshi Pharmaceutical Laboratory came into view. There were 2 people standing outside the front gate. It was Tatano and the girl who was pretending to be Kanan. Each had a gun drawn on the other. Somehow, Stanley had made it in time. He pulled his car up alongside them. They reached down into the gun sleeve concealed beside his seat. He pulled out a .44 caliber Desert Eagle, one of the most powerful semi-automatic handguns in the world. Sniper Pumpkin, hey, 20 months. It's been longer than 13 months, and it's been great the whole time. Right. I don't know time. Have you seen me? I've been jumping back and forth. I have 2 games going on right now. This one, where it's been the same day forever, in a whole bunch of different people, and the other one, which is the longest 5 minutes, and it is definitely long. A semi-automatic handgun designed by Minnesota-based Magnum Research Inc. and manufactured by Israeli Weapon Industries. Various models chambered for different rounds. The largest, the 58 Action Express, is exceptionally powerful by semi-automatic handgun standards. Alright, handgun facts. His orders were to apprehend Alfred. A smaller Glock in his shoulder holster might be better suited to that end. Even so, he opted for the Desert Eagle. Getting out of the car, he started pacing toward the young woman. Stanley? Tatino glanced over at him, his face pale. Stanley gave a silent nod in reply. He could see the hint of a smile on the girl's face. Probably a smile of overconfidence. Well, her brazenness would get her no further. I got in touch with the others, Stanley said. Told them to turn off Hitomi Osawa's cell phone. He could see her eyes react. I imagine that, by now, they've also managed to deal with the bomb you planted on your decoy. The young woman remained silent. And of course they've managed to bypass the lock inside the lab. You know what this means. Your little plan has failed. Completely. Stanley could see the girl's stare sharpen. Why did we have to tell her all of that? I feel like that was probably the mistake. He chased Alfred all around the world, only to arrive here at last in this little island nation. Hello, music. It's been a long, long journey. I need to spend a long time suffering. Now both the journey and the suffering would be over. We meet at last, Alfred. Alright, well, we got to the end of his story. Dramatic music swell, right? Like, it really was starting to swell a lot. Okay. We've got Kano and a bad end for Achi. This is 1905. This be what I want? This looks like what I want. Yes, okay, good. Susumu! The shout had come from Achi. In an instant, a dozen members, blah blah. We're not innocent bystanders. I've read this, come on. Got the password. Everything's cool. Till it's not. This dude says bullshit line. I'm beginning to think 428 is the number of times it actually explodes in this game. Thanks, Evlock. What's the secret meaning of the title? How many explosions are there? Sasayama is okay, everything is great. Come on. I did look up a thing, and I think there's something like 80 odd bad endings. Everything's over. Everything's finally over, except it's not. Finest praise I could have asked for. Being told that I'm like my very favorite detective. Up into the sky. Wait, this is where an explosion happened, wasn't it? No, this is where the keep out was, wasn't it? I get the wrong jump point. I guess I got the wrong jump point. Whoops. Would be fun if there was a jump point to him from himself. Alright, so there's a jump point to Stanley. Achi. I wonder if I don't have that jump point active. Maybe I needed to make a different choice. Oh, maybe it's this one. Is it this one? That's that one. Same old Shibuya. And then his phone rang. Tano's name appeared on the incoming call display. Kano quickly picked up. Detective Tatno, what's going on? You need to get Hitomi Osawa to safety immediately. Alfred isn't trying to get at her blood. He wants her eliminated. Oh, right, yeah, I kind of remember this now. What? Tatno wasn't making any sense. Alfred Palmer had already been arrested. The threat was over now. Hurry, Tatno barked. Yes, sir. Detective, and she called out suddenly. He was standing by Hitomi with the others near the statue of Hachiko. Detective, that's not the real Alfred. He's a fake. What? Fake? Yeah, Stanley called. If this Alfred was just a decoy, that meant the real culprit was elsewhere, still on the loose. Achi's voice rang with desperation. He said he's planning to get rid of them both. With a bomb. I don't know, I'm yelling it across a square full of people. To get rid of Hitomi. That lined up with what Tatno had just called to warn him about. It must be true then. Once again, Keno tensed. A bomb? But where? Get me the Explosive Ordnance Division, someone squawked. A team made up of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department Security Bureau's 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 6th Riot Police units, as well as the Support Vehicle Unit. Division members are trained in explosives disposal. Typically, a dangerous explosive is frozen with liquid nitrogen, then moved away from the site via a support vehicle. The bomb is then detonated at a safe location. Explosives are almost never dismantled on site. We've got an emergency here. It was Kuze, practically screaming into his cell phone. Heard the scramble outside the station. Hurry! The director started running toward the precinct, still shouting as he wove his way through the crowd. Kano felt himself starting to panic. If Hitomi and Palmer were the targets, the bomb had to be nearby. He stormed over to his captive. Okay, where's the bomb? He demanded. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb with me. I already told you the password, Palmer said. What point would there be in keeping things from you now? He had a point. And if he had known about the existence of the bomb, he'd kept it a secret so far. Getting him to reveal it now would not be easy. Kano decided to just go look for it himself. He took a deep breath and tried to think logically. If he were Alfred, what would he do? How could he ensure that he'd eliminate both Hitomi and the fake Alfred at the same time? Where would he plant a bomb in order to pull that off? On the fake, there's no way he possibly planted it. On Hitomi, that way he could be certain he'd at least eliminate her. Well, we know it's not probably the cell phone, so we want to go with the minivan ploy? In a minivan. He was going to try the same ploy all over again. Kano thought back to the other van explosion earlier that afternoon. Alfred would need an explosion big enough to wipe out both Hitomi and fake Alfred, even if they got separated. With that in mind, rather than plant a bomb in one fixed spot, he would use a minivan, which could be moved to wherever Hitomi and Palmer happened to be. Achi, it's in a minivan! Look for a minivan! Kano scanned the area. There were plenty of vehicles parked all around, but no minivans. This seemed strange. If the two intended victims were here now, he'd expected the bomb to be somewhere near as well. Still, he didn't spot a minivan anywhere. Kano ground his teeth in frustration, sweat practically pouring from his forehead. Was he wrong in his assumption? If he was wrong, where else could the bomb be hidden? His mind began to run in circles. Okay, you can do this, he told himself. Focus. Just think. Focus. Think. He had to trust himself and then take action. He decided he'd just have to start checking whatever vehicles were close by. Leaving the fake Alfred under SOS's watch, he ran for the nearest parked car. He peered in through the side windows. There didn't appear to be anything suspicious inside. Of course, if the bomb were set in the engine compartment or the trunk, a cursory check like this would never find it. Still, he hurried toward the next car. He had to trust his detective's instincts. If he couldn't spot the bomb itself in a vehicle, maybe something else would alert him to its presence. Alfred had a certain criminal signature that Kano was sure would linger. Nothing abnormal here. No problems here. Not this one either. With each car he checked, Kano's panic rose. About a minute, no, 2 minutes must have passed since he'd started searching for the bomb. Already more than 15 had passed since Palmer had appeared on the scene. The detonation could come at any moment now. Kano felt he might crumple under the weight of fear. It might already be too late. He felt utterly defeated. And then he saw it. A small, boxy minivan. And it was racing right toward him. That was it. It had to be. The van drew steadily closer, streaming a massive plume of white smoke. Oh my goodness, is this the van I think it is? Oh no. This can't be. Kano sprang into action. Stop! Stop that vehicle! He rushed right into the minivan's path, bracing himself to stop it with his own body if necessary. No, this is too much, game. The driver's compartment was filled with white smoke, making it impossible for him to see who was driving. The van might be unmanned. Stop! Kano shouted again. He knew it was probably pointless, but he had to try. Explosion. Kano whirled around. He could see countless bloodied bodies scattered across the pavement. What the hell had just happened? It wasn't the minivan that had exploded? Alright. The bomb must have been hidden someplace else. No. How? Kano crumpled to his knees. The minivan drove right on past him. The chilling breeze in its wake washed over him like the winds of despair. I'm glad it wasn't the minivan. That would have been too much. It would have been too much. I mean, I still don't know where it is now, but... I wonder if that actually changes anything for Achi. Well, let's go check out. Can I skip some of this? Could the bomb be hidden then? Achi scanned the area but didn't spot any place that seemed plausible. Then his eyes happened to alight on the attaché case the decoy had discarded. Could it be? No sooner had his suspicions been aroused than he heard Kano call out to him. Achi, it's in a minivan. Look for a minivan. A minivan? Alfred was going to use a minivan again? Now that he thought about it, Achi realized it made a certain amount of sense. Oh no! That's a bad decision choice! Okay, well we're gonna play this out anyway. Hitomi had very nearly been killed by that other minivan that had exploded that afternoon. If Cannon hadn't happened to show up when she had, Hitomi probably wouldn't have survived the first bomb. A lot of innocent people had been caught up in the blast as well. That was how big the explosion had been. If something like that had happened here, in the middle of the scramble, they wouldn't be so lucky a second time. If there were a minivan explosion here and now, Hitomi would be killed for sure. He would probably take out Susumu and the rest of the gang too, and even Achi himself. Anxiously, he took another look around. There was no minivans parked nearby, though. He did spot several minivans along one of the roads leading away from the scramble. Kano was rushing around inspecting one vehicle after the other. Nobody move, Achi shouted to Hitomi and Susumu. There's a bomb planted in a car. Make sure you stay away from any vehicles. The others gathered wordily around him. Everyone but Kano, who continued his mad rush in search of the bomb. Achi went to join him, but Hitomi grabbed hold of his arm. Achi, she shook her head. But I have to. A fierce shout interrupted him. Let me go. I can't be here right now. It was their captive, the decoy Alfred, suddenly in an uproar. He was sweating profusely, and his face had gone ghost white. It's... Look, just run. Just get away from that thing. That thing? And she followed the decoy's gaze. Was that it? Was that where the bomb was planted? Yep. It all happened so quickly. Achi didn't even have time to issue a warning. No sooner had he located the bomb than he was blasted off his feet. Bomb explosion number 75. Damn, if only I'd noticed a little sooner. He did. The rest of that was my fault for the other decision I made. Lost consciousness for the last time. Oh, you wish. I doubt that was the last time you lose consciousness. Alright. Clearly we have to make a different decision. On the fake. There's no place he could possibly have planted it. Cannon began to pat Palmer down carefully. Achi, he shouted, check that case. Hurry. He gestured to the attaché case Palmer had been carrying. Don't move. Kano searched through his captive's jacket and pockets, but he came up with nothing. Perhaps Alfred had fitted the bomb into the man's watch or belt? Stop this. I'm not carrying a bomb. Shut your mouth. But Kano couldn't spot anything suspicious about the watch or the belt either. He clenched his jaw in frustration. Did Palmer really not have it after all? Detective! It was Achi. He looked alarmed. Kano hurried over to him, dragging Palmer along. When he looked inside the attaché case, Palmer's face went pale. No, it can't be. Alfred, Why? His voice was hoarse with betrayal. Then he abruptly broke into stilted laughter. Trusting someone really does make you blind. Such a simple, childish ruse, and it went right under my nose. Palmer looked over at Kano. We need to get out of here immediately, he said. That right there is C4, a plastic explosive created for military use. The chief component is RDX. I'm not going to even try to say that word. No, maybe I will. Trimethylene trinitramine, sure, which is combined with a plasticizer such as diacetylsibacate. It is highly reliable and is used by many military forces around the world, most notably the U.S. Armed Forces. I said that word perfectly. A high-yield plastic explosive used by the military. And that's enough to blow this whole area to smithereens. A chill ran up Kano's spine. Do not let this man go, he said, handing Palmer over to Susumu. Got it, just leave it to us. Susumu signaled to his followers, who immediately dumped Palmer unceremoniously on the ground. Kano carefully inspected the inside of the attaché case. Ashi had found a false bottom on the case. The space beneath it was indeed packed full of plastic explosives. Set within it was what looked like a detonator. Kano didn't know much about bomb disposal. He'd only been taught the very basics during his police academy training. Nonetheless, something drew his eye. A microphone. There was a parabolic microphone attached to the detonator. In all likelihood, the detonator had been set to go off in response to some sort of sound. Hey, detective. Is that thing going to explode or not? Achi's voice was shaky. It looks like it's sound activated, but it hasn't gone off from just having people talking nearby. That means it must be set to explode in response to a specific sound trigger. A specific sound, huh? Achi took a moment to think. That's it. It must be Hitomi's ringtone. That's why Stanley had me power her cell phone off. So that means we're safe then, Hitomi asked? It's not going to explode anymore, right? Kano had to fight back any feelings of relief. They couldn't forget that this was Alfred they were dealing with. Assuming they were safe would be a dangerous mistake. Carefully lifting up the detonator, Kano spotted another cable connected to the bomb. As calmly as he could, he tried to remove the plastic explosive from the attaché case. He quickly discovered that the thinly stretched sheet of plastic explosive was only an intermediate layer concealing a second false bottom. 2 false bottoms? A small timer had been set beneath it. There's not just a sound trigger. Kano's mouth had gone dry. His voice came out as a whisper. The bomb also has been fitted with a countdown timer. Stanley had been right on the mark. The ringtone of Hitomi's cell phone would trigger the explosion. That way Alfred could eliminate both her and his stooge Palmer at the same time. But just in case the sound trigger were discovered, as a backup, the bomb also had been rigged to explode after a set time. Kano speed dialed his boss. Director Kuze, where's the bomb squad? 151, 150. Not even 2 minutes left to go. It didn't look like the explosive ordnance unit would make it in time. Kano scanned the area, weighing his options. He noticed Achi standing right beside the bomb case. Achi, he called out, leave that thing and get out of here. But Achi didn't move. No way. He sat down, the attaché case cradled in his arms. Oh, he's gonna play hero. Achi, what the hell are you doing? That won't stop it from doing... I'm not going anywhere until everyone's made it to safety. Detective, you need to get these people someplace safe. Wait. Clear the area first, then I'll go. There's no way I can do that. Damn it, don't you want to save these people too? Kano bit his lower lip in frustration. Achi was right. If the bomb went off amidst a crowd like this, there was no telling how many casualties there'd be. He needed to do whatever he could as quickly as possible. Get back, everybody, get back, Achi shouted at the top of his lungs. There's a bomb! Everybody get out of here! Just run! Following his lead, Kano started directing nearby civilians to safety. Hitomi, Susumu, and the others added their voices to his. Get away as fast as you can. Please, you all have to get out of here. But the crowd wasn't listening to their warnings. On the contrary, some people hurried closer to see what the commotion was all about. It was no use. They were out of time. Kana had to save Achi at least. He turned back to him and called out, "Achi, that's enough. Leave it. Let's go." "Achi," Hitomi shouted, "come on." But Achi only clutched the bomb more tightly. "What are you doing?" Kano screamed. "Come with us, hurry." Still, Achi would not move. Susumu's face went pale. "Wait, your leg. What about my leg? Earlier, when you kicked that steel pipe." What the heck? Finally, Kano understood. It wasn't that Achi didn't want to move. He couldn't move. And so he decided to get all heroic and use himself as a human shield to minimize the impact of the explosion on everybody else. "That idiot," Kano muttered. "If his leg was busted, why didn't he say so? How'd he even make it this far?" There couldn't be much time left. If Kano rushed to help him now, he might not make it to safety before the bomb went off. He had to make a decision. Can't rush in without a plan. Run for Achi anyway. Let's be an idiot. Kana ran for Achi anyway. Couldn't just abandon him. Achi was being an idiot. He wanted to sacrifice himself for the greater good, but Kana wasn't going to let him do that. To have somebody else be your shield, to have them up and give their life for yours, Achi had no idea just how hard that would be on the people he left behind, even if he did save their lives. Until he was capable of comprehending that, Kana wasn't going to just let this kid die. He reached Achi in a matter of moments and grabbed him by the shoulder hard. "Let go of the case now," but Achi reflexively hunched lower. "What the hell are you doing, man? Why'd you come back here? Just come with me, we have to get out of here." "Look, you need to run. I can't move." "Oh, you've got to be kidding me." Kano squatted down and looked Achi right in the eye. "Okay, you can't move on your own, so I'm going to help you move. And unless you want to kill me too, you better cooperate." "Damn it, don't be a fool, man." The strength ebbed from Achi's hands. Wasting no time, Kano pulled the case away, then slipped an arm around Achi's side. Their legs got entangled as Kano dragged Achi to his feet. "Come on, run," the detective shouted when they were upright at last. They needed to get as far away as possible in the few seconds they had left. Kano didn't know how big the explosion was going to be. Palmer had said it would be enough to blow the whole area to smithereens. Though, and there'd been true terror in his voice when he said it. They just needed to keep moving. Keep running as fast as their legs could take them. "Achi," Hitomi shrieked. "Here we go." Bad end. There was a blinding flash of light. Then everything went dark. The force of the blast robbed Kano of his senses. He couldn't tell what happened to Achi. And in the end, Kano never even knew what cut his own life short. Nah, I'm pretty sure he's got a good idea. And the bomb explodes. Okay, we're gonna play through Achi's timeline to see if maybe we can get some clues. Achieving blowing up never gets old. Alright. We already know this is a fake. Got a call from Stanley. Right. But this should be okay. He will now know where to look. Scan the area. Achieving. It's a good fun. Right, found the attaché case. No sooner has his suspicions been aroused than he heard Kano call out to him. Check the case. Hurriedly opened it up. Only things inside were pieces of medical equipment, tubes and syringes and the like. There's nothing that looked remotely like a bomb. Still, where else could the bomb possibly be hidden? Damn it. He had to find the explosive and soon. He took another look at the case. Yes, I'll smash it apart. That seems, like a bad idea. I'll flip it over? I mean, it's got a false bottom. I mean, it's C4. It should be okay if it smashes. Let's just smash it. Let's be Hulk. Smash! And she lifted the case high overhead, intending to hurl it against the ground. But as he was about to throw it, he heard a faint metallic sound. Quickly, he lowered the case again, and was certain the noise came from inside. No. I wanted you to smash it. Once more, he opened the case and looked inside. But still, he saw nothing of note. He tossed the medical equipment aside and slowly tilted the case from side to side. Although it looked empty, there was a distinct sound of something metal sliding back and forth. Hold on, could it be? And she tugged at the case's inner lining, quickly tearing it free. Nah, no fun smashy smash. When he looked behind it, his eyes went wide. A thin layer of something that resembled white clay had been affixed inside the cover of the case. Several wires connected to a small electronic device. This was it. The bomb was really inside the attaché case. Here it is, he shouted. Found it! Kano hurried over, bringing his captive with him. There, Mr. Palmer, take a look. When he saw what was inside the attaché case, the fake Alfred went pale. No, it can't be. Why? His voice was hoarse with betrayal. And abruptly, he broke into stilted laughter. Yeah, you're having a meltdown. We need to get out of here immediately. That's C4, high-yield plastic explosive. That's enough to blow this whole area to smithereens. Blow the whole area to smithereens? And she pictured Shibuya reduced to a blasted ruin. Meanwhile, Kano frantically began searching the inside of the attaché case. A microphone, Kano muttered. Hey, detective, is that thing gonna explode or not? And she tried and failed to keep his voice from wavering. It looks like it's sound activated, but isn't gone off from just having people talking nearby. It must be set to explode in response to a specific sound. A specific sound? Now Achi understood Stanley's instructions. That's it. It must be Hitomi's ringtone. That's why Stanley had me power her cell phone off. So that means we're safe then, Hitomi asked. It's not going to explode anymore, right? I mean, I wouldn't bet our lives on it. Kano continued his examination of the case. He carefully loosened the bomb and the cables, pulling them away from the lid of the case. The sight made Achi's heart leap. Then Kano went stock still as if caught in a hungry predator's gaze. Good thing ringtones are completely unique. Yeah, it's also a good thing that no one's playing the song that her ringtone is anywhere near by at all. It's not like her ringtone's the song of a very popular artist at the moment, or anything. There's not just a sound trigger. The detective's voice was a raspy whisper. The bomb was also been fitted with a countdown timer. Aichi could see the timer now. It had been planted underneath the plastic explosive. His blood ran cold. Director Kuze, where's that bomb squad? While Kano made a desperate call to the police, Achi picked up the attaché case and peered inside. The digital timer was steadily ticking down the seconds. Achi scanned the nearby area. There were too many people around the scramble. Hitomi was there, Susumu was there, several more of his old pals, along with a bunch of innocent bystanders. The people are the lifeblood, Achi reminded himself. The blood that coursed through the body that was the city. Like cells, they brought life to the city he so loved. And Achi wanted to be one of the red, or was it white, blood cells of Shibuya. Oh, Achi, have I got an anime for you? Teach you all kinds of stuff. Achi, Kano called out. Leave that thing and get out of here. No way. Achi sat down, cradling the case in his arms. Achi, what the hell are you doing? I'm not going anywhere until everybody's made it to safety. Detective, you need to get these people someplace safe right away. Clear the area first, then I'll go. But there's no way I can do that. Damn it, don't you want to save these people? Achi snapped. Kano bit his lower lip. Hitomi wrapped her arms around Achi from behind. Achi, don't do this. Hitomi, you need to get out of here too. Why? Why are you acting so crazy? Tears blurred her words, and he could feel her trembling against him. It doesn't matter. Just get as far away as you can. No. No, I'm not leaving you. After the day they'd spent together, Achi knew full well that telling Hitomi something once wasn't going to get her to listen. The stubbornness was one of the many things that made her so amazing in his eyes. Hitomi, Achi clasped one of her hands tightly. Please, this is the one favor I will ever ask of you. His voice came out oddly soft and gentle. Alright, she told him, but let me just say one thing first. There's still so many things I want to talk to you about, so much more that I want to know about you. So please, Achi, don't you die on me. Hey, don't worry. Once everyone's made it to safety, I'll clear out of here right away. Uh-huh. Hitomi squeezed his hand, then got up and silently hurried away. Susumu, you and SOS, start getting people out of the area. Yeah, alright. Susumu turned away and spurred the gang into motion. Then for an instant, Achi's eyes met Kano's. Achi gave a tiny nod and looked down at the timer. 1:19, 1:18. Get back, Achi shouted at the top of his lungs. Everyone get back. There's a bomb. He held the attaché case tight against himself as he continued shouting. He ran his voice raw, trying to warn the crowd away. Everyone get out of here, just run. Following his lead, Kano started directing nearby civilians to safety. Everybody run, get as fast away, go away, please leave. The crowd didn't heed their warnings. Last, apparently deciding that the time was up, Kano turned back to Achi. Achi, that's enough. Leave the bomb and let's go. He could hear Susumu and Hitomi shouting as well. There's no time left, man. Achi, come on. 57, 56. The way Palmer had talked about this bomb, it sounded like a pretty dangerous one. It might be powerful enough to blow up the entire intersection. And there were still so many people nearby. There was no chance they'd be able to get to safety in the few dozen seconds that remained, and she needed to minimize the force of the blast as much as possible. He cradled the bomb more tightly to his chest, huddling over it. What are you doing? Come with us, hurry, screamed Kano. Jump point, interesting. I don't know how powerful this bomb is, but please, God, let my body be enough to protect the people of Shibuya. And to protect Hitomi. Achi squeezed his eyes tightly shut. I'm sorry, Susune. Right, Susune. Looks like I won't be able to keep visiting you in the hospital anymore. You'll forgive me though, right? I struck it through to the end just like you told me to. I didn't call it quits partway through. And so whatever you do, you can't let that disease beat you. Don't you dare let it beat you. And she drew a deep breath as he finished his solitary little prayer. He couldn't have more than a few seconds left to go. A firm hand grabbed hold of Achi's shoulder. Let go of the case now. It was Kano. What the hell are you doing, man? Why do you come back here? Just come with me. We have to get out of here. Kano scripted and let up in the slightest. You need to run. I can't move. He clenched his jaw in frustration. It was all too crazy for him to think straight. They shouldn't even be having this argument when the bomb could explode at any moment. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Kano growled in frustration. Alright, so you can't move on your own. I'm gonna help you. Unless you want to kill me too, you better cooperate. They didn't have much time left. Don't be a fool, man. Achi couldn't help but curse. A sharp pain shot through his limp right leg as he lurched to his feet. Kano shouted in his ear, "Come on, run." Achi didn't have the luxury of thinking anymore. He just had to move his feet. Hitomi cried out from across the scramble, "Achi!" And then the bomb exploded. As the explosion tore through him, he was glad that her voice was the last thing in the world he'd ever hear. And that was Achi's final thought for the 70-somethingth time. Alright. So, where the bomb is probably the right choice. Maybe we try to have a plan instead of just jumping over? Maybe that makes it better? I mean, I don't see how, but hey, why not? Can't just rush in without a plan. Detective needed both a cool mind and a fiery spirit. And a Drazoth who's resubscribed for 18 months. Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. Thanks for coming back, Drazoth. The more heated the situation was, the more he needed to stay cool. He could feel the muscles in his legs begin to stiffen. He did his best to slow his racing heartbeat as his mind sought desperately for a way out of the situation. His eyes remained fixed on Achi holding the bomb in his arms. Knowing that it could explode at any moment made it almost impossible to think. The harder he tried to calm himself, the more his panic grew. He cursed himself for not leaping into action immediately. He should have acted before thinking. That was the only thing he was good at. And still he stood frozen, staring at Achi. Then he felt the hairs rise on the back of his neck. White smoke was pouring from an approaching minivan. Oh shit, really? I can't believe I didn't clue in on this earlier. The vehicle teetered to a stop along the shoulder of the road. Still, the smoke spilled out, roiling from a partly opened window. Gano could feel a strange chill in the air. Is that... Instinctively, he rushed toward it. God. Game. This would not... Peering through the minivan's windows, he saw a clunky box-shaped device in the back. It was rumbling fiercely, spitting out an unending mound of white clumps. A dry ice machine. Hey, Kano yelled, banging hard on the door. Open up. By freezing a bomb that used an electronic activation trigger, it was possible to kill the battery cell and deactivate the detonator. The explosive ordnance unit used liquid nitrogen, but maybe dry ice would work as well. Nitrogen that has been cooled to a liquid state, with a temperature below minus 195.8 degrees Celsius. It can be poured onto explosives to stop the function of components, such as the battery cell for the detonator. However, in situations where the surrounding area can be safely secured, it is preferable to destroy the explosive via detonation rather than simply arrest its function. Dry ice, carbon dioxide in its solid state. Because it evaporates at negative 79 degrees Celsius at standard atmospheric pressure, it must be kept refrigerated or it rapidly dissipates into mist. Thus, it's used in smoke and fog machines. The odds of dry ice being able to stop the detonator of a bomb are quite low. Battery cells do lose electromotive force in a sub-zero environment, but there is no guarantee that this would actually work. Thanks, game. There were 3 men inside the vehicle. Kano shouted at the one in the driver's seat. I need to borrow that machine. Huh? The man replied in a lethargic drawl. No way, man, we haven't even paid this thing off yet. There was no time to explain or negotiate. Kano was just going to have to take it by force. Hold it right there. Why are you back? Another man appeared suddenly in front of the vehicle, the pushy fellow Kano had run into at the scene of the explosion. You guys are with that Wandering Angels theater troupe, yeah? He said to the van's occupants. Episode 6, the finale. The minivan carrying Tozuka, Bando, and Amo veered wildly through the streets of Shibuya, leaving a trail of white smoke in its wake. The trio, now definitely impaired by oxygen deprivation, came close to causing several accidents. Teetering on the brink of consciousness, they were still trying to reach Endo Electronics when they ran into Kano and his companions instead. After Kano takes the machine off their hands, the 3 will happily head back to the theater, clean up, crack open some beers, and look back over one long, crazy day. He pointed to the dry ice machine. That thing's defective. The guy from the electronics store said he'd refund your deposit. Oh, now we're keeping that promise. Is that what's going on? Huh? For real? Yeah, he told me to tell you that. The machine had been recalled. We'll bring it back for you, so hurry up and open the door. Yeah, okay. The newcomer helped the three men unload the dry ice machine from the minivan. Then he turned to Kano. Here. Hurry up and take it, he shouted. Right, thanks. Kano wasn't sure what was going on, but he took the machine and ran, pushing it ahead of him across the pavement. Achi, Hitomi wailed, tears in her eyes. The detective blew right past her, trailing a billowing plume of white smoke in his wake. Please let me make it in time. Please let me make it in time. Please let me make it in time. Kano let loose a wild yell. He ran as fast as his legs would take him toward Achi and the bomb. Jump point. What? Is that allowed? I don't think that's allowed. Game. How much can I jump forward? I'm a sad boy who's gonna get exploded but somehow be saved by a defective dry ice machine that's been around since the beginning of the game. Come on, give me a keep out. Satomi. Or so he thought. Achi, bring the bomb over here. Huh? That wasn't Hitomi's voice. Achi opened his eyes and saw Kano racing toward him, pushing some big, weird piece of machinery. This is a lot bigger than I was expecting it to be. I'll give it that. The detective flipped open the machine's cover to reveal a huge mound of dry ice. Stick it in here. Flash freezing the timer ought to stop it. Achi did as he was told, shoving the attaché case into the dry ice. Kano helped him pile more dry ice on top of it. Let's hope that's enough, Kano exclaimed. He looked like a man desperate for a miracle. They could see the timer display through a gap in the frozen hydrogen, still counting down. Was this not going to work? Ashi and Kano held their breaths. Okay. And then what happened? Alright. Sure. Please insert disc 2. I like that E-Block this entire time has just been like, hey, explode! Don't work. Alright, well, I guess we're going to the epilogue. Explosion. She felt a hand firmly clutching her own as she hazily returned to consciousness. I don't know who this is. This hand, though. Whose is it? My father's? Ah, okay, it's Maria. That makes sense. Maria's eyelids slowly drifted open. Maria, you're all right now. Her father was indeed beside her, holding her hand. A surprising warmth radiated from his slender, bony palm. Dad? She was lying on a sofa. She craned her neck to look around, still trying to process what was going on. Suddenly, an explosion happened. It was very weird. There were several monitors set up around the room. Where are we? At my laboratory. You're infected with a virus, but I've given you the antiviral. You don't have anything to worry about. He squeezed Maria's hand even more tightly. That hurts. Ah, right, sorry. Asawa eased up on the pressure of his daughter's hand. But he didn't let go entirely. This feels so strange, Maria muttered, staring up at the ceiling. I wonder why. What does? Having you hold my hand. You used to hold your hand like this when we'd go on walks together, when you were little. I doubt you remember that, though. Maria considered. It was true. She didn't have any clear memory of her father holding her hand like this, and yet the touch of her father's palm felt distantly familiar. Gently, she squeezed back. It's been a while, hasn't it, she said. I mean, me looking you in the eye while I'm talking to you? That's only because I didn't look you in the eye. Osawa hung his head. I'm so sorry, he said. Please, forgive me. I never meant to hurt you like I did. Wait, hold on. Maria was taken aback. I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean hurt me? Back on that rainy day, when you were like 9? 5? I can't remember. Osawa told Maria about the day she'd run away from home. About how he'd known where she'd gone but hadn't gone to find her. About how he'd given to his anger and struck her once she came home. When he'd finished, he hung his head once more. I'm so sorry. I've been such a terrible father. Maria cracked an impish smile. Oh yeah, I guess that did happen. Osawa frowned. You know, she said, totally forgotten about that, till you mentioned it just now, I mean. No, I can't believe that, Osawa replied. The way I hurt you, He sounded so disappointed in himself. Dad, it's not like I can let myself dwell on each and every detail of my childhood. I mean, in the 19 or so years I've been alive, I've been hurt in lots of different ways. Alright. A child experienced so much more than what her parents knew. That was what growing up was all about. It was a happy thing, but also a little bit sad. Osawa was visibly grappling with his feelings. I see, he said. I guess you have gone through much pain. Well, yeah, but there have been more things that were fun and happy. I see. The sum of all those things that have made me who I am today, so please don't worry so much about the past. I see. Dad, you keep saying I see. Stop it. Sorry. It's just... This is all so difficult to say. Osawa was trying and failing to hold back his tears. Maria wasn't quite sure what those tears were for, but she felt a prickle of embarrassment. Shyly, she looked away and her eyes lighted on one of the monitors. The screen showed a view from outside the lab. Who are those people? She asked, pointing. Osawa looked and his eyes widened in shock. 3 people with guns were facing off with one another. Maria recognized one of them. Tatano, the man with the cane. Why are those 2 pointing guns at your friend? Osawa's voice was shaking. My friend? What do you mean? The one you met when we went to the Middle East. You know, Cannon. Osawa switched the monitor to show a different camera angle. A close-up of the young woman's face appeared on screen. Maria was at a loss for words. That certainly wasn't Cannon. It was the girl who'd come to tell Maria that Hitomi was going to be kidnapped. Cannon's friend. It had happened 3 days earlier. So, a flashback in this epilogue. While Maria was on her way home from campus, a girl approached her, telling her she was a friend of Cannon. Cannon asked me to pass along a message, she said. Then she showed Maria a video recording. The video quality was quite poor and the voice indistinct. There's a terrorist who's after the antiviral agent your father is developing. Maria listened in shock as the message continued. The terrorist's plan was already in motion, and Hitomi had been infected with a killer virus. Your father used the antiviral to save Hitomi, but the terrorists planned on that. I'll spare you the details, but there's a way to extract the antiviral from Hitomi's blood. Stealing the drug from the laboratory directly is too problematic. The terrorist intends to get it directly from your sister. Hitomi is certain to be kidnapped sometime in the next few days. And so I have something to ask you. I'd like you to get kidnapped in her place. Since you're twins, it should be possible for you to trade places without the kidnappers realizing it. I gave the girl who's passing along this message a necklace outfitted with a small GPS beacon. Make sure you wear the necklace. Switch it on, and it'll allow me to keep tabs on your location. I promise I'll come and rescue you. Please, help me. This is the only way we can keep the antiviral and Hitomi safe. The video ended, and the girl handed Maria a necklace with an ornate pendant and showed her the hidden switch on the back. Cannon's coming to Japan? Maria asked. She's already here. She's ready to risk her life for this mission. Risk her life? Maria started uneasily. So, this terrorist who's after the antiviral drug, is it Alphard? The girl looked shocked. You know about Alphard? Cannon told me that taking down Alfred is her purpose in life. But Alfred has ties to the CIA, so it's hard for Cannon to get any good leads. That's true. Which reminds me, you should have this. Girl held out a photograph. This man is dangerous. Stay away from him. He's an ally of Alphard. Maria did her best to burn the man's image into her mind. Alright, the girl said. I've passed along everything Cannon wanted me to tell you. What you do next is up to you. So wait, what the heck has been going on while I've been asleep? Osawa recoiled from the ferocity in his daughter's face. That Cannon girl thought of a way to save you. He went on to explain the plan to get to the antiviral out of the lockdown laboratory. Once again, Maria stared at the monitor. As she eyed Cannon's friend, another memory from before she'd blacked out drifted to the surface. Suddenly it dawned on Maria what this girl was planning. She pretended to be Cannon in order to get into the lab, she said, scowling at the image on the monitor. Osawa looked at the screen and then at his daughter's face. Well then, who in the world is she? Maria already had the answer. There was no doubt about it. That girl was Alphard. The instant she realized this, she knew they were in danger. If Alphard managed to infiltrate the lab, there was no way she'd be satisfied with simply getting her hands on the antiviral. She sowed ruin everywhere she went. Is something wrong? Osawa asked uneasily. Maria, what is it? Maria's mind was racing. She spoke her thoughts out loud. She's going to kill you so the drug can't be recreated. No, that's not thorough enough. She's going to destroy this whole facility. But how? Vague possibilities tumbled through her mind, but she couldn't be sure what the terrorist might be planning. She gritted her teeth in frustration. Don't worry, Osawa said. I don't know who that girl is right now, but she's outside the lab. There's no way she can kill me or plant a bomb in here or anything. Yeah, I know. Maria gave a tiny nod, but something gnawed at the back of her mind. And make sure you wear the necklace. Hurriedly, Maria took hold of the pendant that hung around her neck. As soon as she did, she felt a chill run up her spine. How many bombs are in this game? She went back over the details of Alfred's plan as her father had explained it, and then finally she understood. I've got it. Osawa straightened up. You've got what? I need to get out there, where those three are. Don't be absurd. I have to go. Osawa peered closely at his daughter's face. Words weren't going to stop her, and as he realized that, his own face stiffened with determination. Alright, but I'm going with you. That's not in the game. I can't let you rush into danger all by yourself. Thank you, Dad. Maria tried to get up from the sofa, but she was struck by a wave of vertigo and her knees buckled. Are you alright? Osawa caught her by the arm. This is probably a side effect of the antiviral. You shouldn't push yourself too much. Maria looked up at her father's anxious face and shook her head. Don't worry, I'll be okay. 'Cause I said so. Even the bombs are bombs. Her body was weak with lethargy. Her mind trapped in a disorienting haze. Every step was a monumental effort, but she clenched her jaw and forced herself onward, making her way down the laboratory hallway. A whirlwind of anger and sadness spurred her onward. Alfred was masquerading as Cannon. The cruel truth was all too clear. The terrorists would never have been able to get away with deception if Cannon were still alive. Which means that Cannon must be. Maria fought to hold back her tears. It was too early to cry just yet. That could wait until after she'd put a stop to Alfred's plan. Using her rage to suppress her sorrow, she shoved open the door in front of her. That isn't Cannon! No, we already know that. Maria's voice exploded into the silence of the standoff. I doubt we're getting better testimony than that, Stanley said, his gun still at the ready. There's no talking your way out of things this time. The expression on Alfred's face didn't change. She'd stood still, a mannequin without a soul. What did you do to Cannon? Maria demanded, marching unsteadily toward the terrorist. Maria, stay back, Osawa exclaimed. She ignored him. Hey, don't get any closer, Tatano barked. He looked exhausted, on the verge of collapse. Answer me, Maria cried, still advancing. What happened to Cannon? But still, Alfred said nothing. Stanley, too, began edging towards her. It doesn't matter what you ask, he said. She won't tell you anything. Bit by bit, he inched closer. He was going to try to take her down. Let me turn your question around, Alfred said abruptly. What do you think? Maria paused, confused. What do I think about what? What do you think happened to Cannon? Corners of her lips twisted up, shaping a mirthless smile. You killed her, didn't you? Maria's words came out as a whisper. What was that? I couldn't quite hear you. You killed Cannon, didn't you? This time Maria cried out with biting fury. Alfred snickered. She's provoking me, Maria thought, forcing herself to swallow her rage. She couldn't let herself get caught up in Alfred's game, or her anger would spill out of control. Why are you laughing? By force of will, Maria made her voice firm and steady. Because I'm guessing you weren't expecting me to show up here. Alfred raised an eyebrow ever so slightly. This thing here, it's a bomb, isn't it? Maria held out the necklace. What? Stanley furrowed his brow. Ah, of course. Even if we managed to catch you here, you'd still be able to destroy the lab. Still, the smile remained on Alfred's face. She seemed to enjoy watching the others figure out her intentions. But you can't trigger the bomb with me standing this close to you, can you? Maria locked eyes with Alfred. Unless you're prepared to sacrifice yourself? She stood like an image of bravery, while on the inside her apprehension threatened to tear her apart. She could feel her heart thudding so furiously that she thought it might explode. 'Cause that might be a bomb too, for all we know. Cold sweat trickled down her spine. Only her rage at Cannon's murder kept her from backing down. Go ahead and blow yourself up if that's what you want, she said. But you'll die with nothing. Your death will mean nothing. But not mine. My death will avenge Cannon's. Silence fell outside the laboratory gates. Stanley and Tatano stood frozen, their guns still trained on Alfred. Both men were ready to pull the trigger at the slightest provocation. Just how long had they been there, staring one another down? I don't know, I could go back through the timeline and check, but I think it's been maybe like a half hour at least. The passage of time seemed to slow, seconds drawn into hours. Osawa swallowed audibly. Finally, Alfred tossed the gun onto the pavement and held up both hands in surrender. That's anticlimactic. Stanley wasted no time springing forward to secure her. He gave her a thorough pat down from behind. He removed a small device that looked like a detonator from one of her pockets. On your knees. Alfred did as she was told. Good. Now hands behind your head. Try anything funny and I will shoot. Without a word, Alfred placed her hands on the back of her head, fingers laced together. What are you playing at? Stanley growled disdainfully. Finally realized you can only push your luck so far? She responded with a faint snicker. It's not my policy to resist when things are hopeless. Her tone was detached, her intentions unreadable. Good. That'll make this easy. Stanley kept the barrel of his gun pointed at Alfred's head. This is for my brother. The words hung in his throat, unspoken. A surge of emotion coursed through him. Just a tiny bit more pressure from his index finger, and he could put a bullet right through Alfred's head. His long journey would finally reach its conclusion. But although he had wished for this moment more than anything, his finger did not move. If he pulled the trigger now, would that truly be the end? His mind reeled at the implications. Tatano watched Stanley closely. eventually letting out a tiny sigh of relief. They were in this together after all. Now they just needed to be careful to not let down their guard. He kept one eye on Alfred as he went to pick up the gun she'd discarded. But he was too late. The gun was gone. What? Yeah, alright. This is for Cannon. Maria had lunged forward, snatching up the gun. "Maria, no!" Sawa cried. "What are you thinking?" She ignored her father, taking aim at Alfred's forehead. "Cannon's dead. And you're gonna pay." The smoldering rage she'd fought to hold back blazed up with renewed fury. "Maria," Stanley said calmly, "put down the gun." He had nothing but words to stop her. There was no telling what Alfred might do if he took his gun off her. "What will this accomplish?" he asked, keeping his tone as level as possible. Maria's face remained awash with anger. "Maria," her father pleaded, "please don't do this." Tatno took a step forward. "Go on, hand me the gun," he said. "Stay back." Maria's arm trembled as she aimed the gun. Everyone stood frozen, not even daring to breathe. The slightest wrong move might bring disaster. The silence roared. "I don't care," Alfred sneered. "If you want to shoot, then shoot. You do want to avenge Cannon, don't you?" Yes, I do." Maria tightened her grip on the gun. Memories of her friend drifted through her mind. To Maria, born into peace, meeting Cannon had been like touching a world beyond her own, a far more complicated world. Cannon had blood on her hands from the time she was a little girl, a walking contradiction of cruelty and childishness, and yet she had lived her life according to her own unshakable beliefs. Meeting her hand made Maria think hard about her own identity. What did it mean to be Japanese? No, that wasn't the question. What did it mean to be Maria Osawa? That was the crux of it all. They had been able to find common ground despite different ideals, because both possessed an unshakable sense of self. The tense equilibrium came crashing down as Maria let out a shout. "This is for Cannon!" She pulled the trigger, but her shot went wide, shattering the window of a nearby car. The sudden gunshot caught Stanley off guard. Alfred didn't miss her opening. Of course not. She rolled swiftly across the pavement, drawing the small pistol she'd hidden in an ankle holster. Maria hastily tried to aim for a second shot. There were a lot of whips. "Oh, okay, we're going for one of those. Alright." "Dad!" Sawa collapsed at Maria's feet. "Dad!" Her father went limp. Stanley dived at Alfred. He grabbed hold of her right wrist, the one clutching the gun, and slammed her head down hard against the pavement. She made no attempt to resist. In a moment he had subdued her. "Maria, you're not hurt, are you?" Osawa croaked feebly as his daughter gathered him up into his arms. "I'm fine, but Dad, your..." Blood was gushing through Osawa's shirt. Maria pressed her hand against the wound, but the bleeding wouldn't stop. "Look, just hurry. Get here as fast as you can." Tatano was on his cell phone calling for an ambulance. "I know there's a traffic jam. Just figure something out. Please." His voice was ragged with desperation. "Dad, hang in there." Large tears streamed from Maria's eyes. "Ah, so this is what it's like." Osawa laid his head in his daughter's lap, struggling to rasp out his words. "My body just reacted before I had any time to think. I finally understand what a virus must feel like." His eyes were hollow. "I never told you and Hitomi, did I? About what started my fascination with virus research?" "Dad, try not to talk right now." Maria squeezed her father's hand. Almost imperceptibly, he squeezed back. "It probably isn't a very interesting story," he said. "But I'd like for you both to hear it anyway." "I know, and we will. After this, I promise we will." Maria's words brought a contented smile to Osawa's face. "I'm glad. So glad. It's alright, just don't talk right now. This time, at least, I was there for you." Osawa slowly shut his eyes. "Dad!" "Dad?" Maria said. But her father didn't answer. "Dad? Don't die. You can't die. I mean, there's no choices to make. I think it just happens. The sound of ambulance sirens wailed in the distance. Maria clutched her father's hand, trying to make her grip firm and reassuring, just as he had been for her back inside the laboratory. Please, don't die. She repeated the words inwardly over and over and over. A black car of foreign make arrived at the laboratory and pulled up to the curb. Stanley's superior, Gordon, emerged from the back. A few of his men followed and promptly placed Alfred in handcuffs. Well done, Gordon said. Stanley gave him a slight nod. I'll be taking Alfred back to headquarters. You can finish up here. Understood, sir. Sure, the black cars can make it through the traffic jam, but the ambulance can't. Gordon shoved Alfred into the back seat and slid in alongside her, and the car drove off. Who was that just now? Tatano asked Stanley. My boss. Sorry, but we'll be taking Alfred into custody. You will, huh? Tatano frowned, but decided not to press the point. It's not like you could change any of that right now anyway. The ambulance arrived at last, and Osawa was loaded inside. Okay, so I guess it got there. Maria remained at his side, still weeping, still softly calling out to him. He could sense her there, though her voice sounded awfully far away. Is this the end, then? I don't know, Game, you tell me. He was vaguely aware that he was dying, but he was not afraid. At the far end of a hazy tunnel, he could still see Maria. My, she'd grown so very much. If he were an organism that multiplied by dividing itself, he would die knowing that he had left his best selves behind. Weirdo. He had only one wish now, that Maria and Hitomi would go on to lead happy lives. His vision was growing steadily more dim. Tiny motes of light flickered and wavered faintly before his eyes. It looked a lot like the very first time he had ever peered through a microscope. And that was enough for him. Unexpectedly, Maria's cell phone rang in Stanley's pocket. He'd meant to give it back to her, but the ambulance had already departed. The phone continued to ring for some time, but eventually fell into a death-like silence. We just call that silence. But okay. "2 minutes after midnight. Oh, no, wait. 2 minutes left on the bomb clock. Achi held his breath. He could no longer feel the seconds ticking by. The numbers on the display were changing more and more slowly. But still, he watched in fear. 2 minutes. It was oh, wait, no, that would be 2 seconds on this thing. It was impossible not to fixate on the countdown. Kano and Achi continued to stare at the timer. It had stopped. The timer had actually stopped. We did it! Achi dropped to his knees with a cry of triumph. The rest of the Shibuya Scramble burst into cheers. You are one reckless guy, you know that? Kano held his hand out. Achi grinned up at him. That makes 2 of us. The 2 clasped hands firmly, their handshake conveying more than any words could have. Achi. Susumu came rushing over. You did it, man. I knew you could do it. The 2 bumped fists. It weren't just me, Achi said. Could never have done it without you guys' help. Susumu smiled bashfully. Hey, Susumu. Take care of SOS for me. You got it. Susumu looked him squarely in the eye. Achi gave a little nod, and the 2 solemnly bumped fists again. Suddenly, there was a blinding flash. Achi spun around to see Chiaki standing there, beaming happily, her digital camera ready for another shot. Hey everyone, gather up, Minoru Kawa called out to Achi and his pals. You guys are the heroes of Shibuya. Photo time, everyone, Chiaki said. Get ready. The young men struck a pose together. Wait, her too. Minorikawa ushered Hitomi over to stand with Achi. Hitomi? Achi stared at her shyly. It's all thanks to Hitomi that he'd been able to do what he had done. Keeping Shibuya safe, keeping his promise to Suzune. Hitomi had been his inspiration for it all. There were so many things he wanted to say, but he couldn't get the words right out. Achi, Hitomi's cheeks were damp with tears. Hey now, little lady, Minorikawa called. No crying! Come on, show us a smile. He struck a goofy pose beside Chiaki. At last, the smile returned to Hitomi's face. Really is the best. Hitomi looked up at Achi in confusion. Your smile, he said. It's the best. I don't care what anyone else says. He spoke so earnestly that Hitomi couldn't help but smile even more. Okay, here we go, people. Get your best faces on. At Minorikawa's signal, everyone let out a joyous victory cry. I like the dude in the back. That's great. Come on, guys, Susumu shouted. Let's lift Achi up where everyone can see him. The members of SOS let out another roar. Huh? No, you don't gotta do that, guys. Hey, cut it out. My leg is broken and I should probably go to a hospital. But Achi had already been swallowed by the enthusiastic throng. Yep, that's not good for your leg. Nope. It's all bad. That's okay, he's still alive, I guess. There in the middle of the scramble, Achi had been hailed as a hero. Kano looked on with a satisfied smile. What they had achieved together was nothing less than a miracle. But there was still a bomb hanging out in a dry ice machine that should maybe get taken care of. It had taken a lot of luck and more than a few coincidences for them to stop that bomb. Coincidences, Kano muttered to himself. No, that wasn't right. This was something different altogether. Perhaps some sort of Time Lord had managed to go through a bunch of different time frames. Who knew? Fate. Yes, we'll call it that. That's more convenient. And not just one person's fate. The destinies of several people had collided, gathering momentum until coincidence became inevitability, and Shibuya was saved. The raucous crowd tossed Achi high into the air again and again. As a plainclothes detective, Kano would probably never be showered with adulation quite like that. Well, that was alright. The detective's duty was to ensure the safety of the people. Oh, is he gonna end this with a dick dictum? Because that would be hilarious. He didn't put his life on the line so that he could be a hero. Just seeing all those smiles, that was good enough for him. Kano only needed the approval of one person, and that was Rumi. Remember her? She exists. Rumi, I hope she managed to get out of Shibuya, okay? Suddenly worried, Kano pulled out his cell phone. There were a whole bunch of things he wanted to tell her. He couldn't share the whole story. Police rules wouldn't allow it. But he wanted to let her know as much as he could. That the kidnapping case had been resolved safely, for instance. That he'd learned about the tortured past of the detective he so admired. That his partner was going to pull through. That one is very important, maybe you should lead with it. That he'd managed to finally talk to her father. Also kind of important, maybe lead with that one. That he put his life on the line to save Shibuya from danger. Maybe bury the lead on that one. Just a little. Rumi would listen quietly to the very end, and then, Kano thought, he knew just what she'd say. Short and sweet. In that gentle voice of hers. Good job. It seems kind of anticlimactic to just tell a whole story like that and get to a good job. Well, hello, music. Do we get credits? Okay, cool. So, we don't actually have confirmation that Kaneda is alive. And what was Osawa? The other dude. This was fun though. I guess they can just leave that bomb in the dry ice machine and walk away from it. It's fine, right? That won't, like, blow up anywhere. Manic Pixie Dreamlurker, thank you for that 428-bit cheer. Ending 91, the bomb doesn't explode. So when do we play 429? This is the song that they kept playing throughout the game, isn't it? From the popular artist. Miss Kajiwara. Banana Man was great. Wow, look at all the people who played instruments. There are a lot of you. Yeah, Banana Man creeped me out at the beginning, but I really ended up liking him. He was great. Whatever happened to Burning Hammer Dude? Oh yeah, Yanagishita. I can't remember what happened to him. I think he ran away, essentially. I was actually surprised he didn't show up near the end too, once Minorikawa just showed up like that. Freedom Knives. That's a name that showed up. Recommend we do the pop quiz. Yeah, alright. Gordon and Alfred sat in the back seat as the car sped along the highway. Here. Gordon tossed the handcuff key onto the seat beside him. Of course. What happened down at the scramble? Alfred asked, picking up the key and unlocking her cuffs. Leyland Palmer was arrested by the Japanese police, and the bomb in the attaché case was defused, apparently. I'm glad you actually specifically said it was defused, as opposed to they stuck it in a dry ice machine and walked away. Still, Palmer shouldn't pose a problem once we get him into CIA custody. I see. Much obliged. You really got yourself backed into a corner, though, didn't you? Gordon said. Yeah. Was only able to accomplish half of what I intended. Half? Alfred produced a vial from her pocket. It was filled with red liquid. Is that Hitomi's blood? Gordon asked. Indeed. I managed to acquire the antiviral. But when? Gordon peered at her in bewilderment. When I blew up the minivan. In the dim light of the vehicle, Alfred's eyes shone darkly, like those of a wounded animal. Extracting the blood from Hitomi while she was unconscious had been a simple matter. Saving the girl's life had been more than just a means of ensuring her trust. Alfred had been looking for the right moment to carry out the extraction. Total secrecy was essential. If it became public knowledge that the drug existed, and that some of it had been stolen, the value of the virus would plummet. Our primary objective here was to destroy that research facility. Still, getting our hands on the antiviral is better than nothing. Well done as always, Alfred. Gordon's hard expression softened, but Alfred was in no mood to return his smile. If Maria Osawa had remained inside the facility, her plan would have succeeded. Everything else up until that point had gone off without a hitch. The one thing Alfred hadn't anticipated was Maria bringing the bomb outside. She had injected Maria with a knockout drug back at Indo Electronics that should have kept her from moving around for a while, even after she'd regained consciousness. And in any case, she wouldn't have expected the girl to just march into the midst of an armed standoff. She had been certain that Maria would never leave the lab. She had misjudged how strong the girl's feelings for Cannon were. Maria's body had been put into a state of torpor. There were a bunch of people pointing guns at each other, and still she had been undeterred. Alfred's plan had hinged on Maria's relationship with Cannon, and ironically, that same relationship had made the plan fall apart. It was true that she'd accomplished half of her goals, but Alfred still couldn't shake her sense of failure. She softly bit her lip as she gazed out through the car window. The bright windows of a few buildings shone out in the midst of the otherwise darkened city. A group of tiny lights that refused to be washed out by the darkness. The end. Alright. That was the thing that happened. Published by Spike Chunsoft. That's good. Bonus content added to the title screen. I earned a trophy called The End. Previews. Pop quiz. Oh yeah, we're gonna go and do a pop quiz, alright. I like this. This is like new, in case this screen's only ever had the two things before, but now it really wants me to know that this third one is new. Neat. Opening pop quiz. Alright, pop quiz time. Here's your first question. The U virus is approximately this many. Wow. Really? Nanometers in diameter, 3 digits. That's a hard question. I didn't expect it to be like serious. Nanometers, 3 digits. I don't know. I like everybody in the chat's like 428. I doubt that's the answer. Yeah, probably want to look up a guide. If this is meant for unlocking stuff. I mean, that's cute. Answering pop quiz questions correctly will let you read special episodes. Enjoy the tale of Aso Ozu and Yutara Sagawa. I think they were in the theater troupe? Oh, no. These were the bad, at their jobs, bad men. Ozu snarled at the young man who sat before him in the dingy little office belonging to Takarada Financing. Do you understand what it means to break a promise between men? The man glared back at him. What do you want me to say? He muttered. Ozu had seen the same look plenty of times before, and he despised it. It was the look of a man who hadn't realized he'd already lost. Ozu hated people like that more than anything. 5 million, and the interest on it hasn't been paid. When was the payment for that interest due again? Yesterday. Well, if you knew that, then how come you haven't paid it? Ozzy's voice rose to a bellow that practically shook the windows. He couldn't tolerate anyone breaking promises. No exceptions. I understand. Despite Ozzy's fury, the man seemed unconcerned. I'll work it off. I'm in shape. His upper arms sported bulging biceps. They were the arms of a fighter. Or if that's no good, I can always sell my organs, the man added nonchalantly. Who says that nonchalantly? It struck Ozzy as a ridiculous offer, the suggestion of a clueless youth. Listen, pal, you can't just up and offer to sell your organs. Your parents would want you taking better care of yourself. I've taken care of myself, and so my organs... Stop jerking me around. Ozzy lurched to his feet and kicked the table hard. I'm not jerking anyone around. I'm being serious. The man looked squarely back at Ozu. What'd you spend the $5 million on, the older man grumbled. If I tell you that, will you wipe the debt clean? Of course not. Again, Ozu kicked the table. The young man shrugged. I needed some funds to set up a bank transfer scam. You know, as you do. Oh? Ozzy straightened up reflexively, picking up the scent of money. But a scam like that requires a fake account in someone else's name. Yes, it does. I tried to go through some black market channels to get one, but well, I just wound up losing my money over and over. The man continued describing how he'd blown through over 1.5 million yen before landing the fake account. I figured that once I had the account, though, I'd be able to make something work. Thinking that his fraud scheme needed a bigger team, the man had tried to recruit some scam artists online. He'd ponied up $3 million to use for advance funds for the effort, but once he'd given it over to the team he'd assembled, they'd all skip town the next day. No shit. Is it possible to say something chalantly? It's fair. Now desperate, he'd taken the remaining $500,000 to illegally purchase a list of easy marks. Said list contained the phone numbers of several dozen elderly people who'd fallen for such bank transfer schemes before. The man had tried making his way down the list, calling one number after the other. None of the numbers on the list, however, actually wound up connecting to anyone. Rather than craft his own fraud scheme, the man had fallen victim to one himself, apparently several times over. You were looking for some suckers, but got suckered yourself, Ozzy snorted. Yeah, the man grumbled sullenly. Look, could you please just let me make a quick phone call? Phone call, huh? There's another mark I've been working on since this morning who just needs a little more coaxing. If I pull it off, I might be able to pay what I owe. There was no way this guy was pulling off a scam. From all he'd heard so far, Ozzy was sure of it. But that made him all the more amused at the thought of letting this guy have his call. This I gotta hear. Go ahead and make your call. Ozzy turned the phone's speaker on, then handed the receiver to the other man. With a notebook in his other hand, the man dialed. The phone rang several times, and then someone picked up. Hello, Grandma? It's me. Did you get the money? Oh, Massa, is that you? How's school going? Oh, I'm already working now, Grandma. Didn't I tell you? Oh, yes, that's right. That's right. How lovely. How's your homework looking for today? I'll make sure you come straight home and don't buy too much candy while you're out. The old woman on the other end of the line sounded completely senile. She was under the mistaken impression that this man was her grandson. So, anyway, Grandma, you remember what we talked about last time? Did you get the money? Money? There was something you wanted? No, it's not like that. Do you remember our phone call from earlier? Phone call? What do you mean? These two weren't even on the same page. Ozzy frowned skeptically as he listened to the back and forth. Remember I said I'd been in a car accident? If I hurt someone really bad, I need to pay a settlement? Oh, Massa, you don't need to lie, you know. Lie? The man looked panicked. I'm not lying. It's all right. Grandmothers can tell this sort of thing. But I'm not lying. I bet you really want to buy some new video game. It's okay. I've got enough saved up to buy it for you. Don't you worry. I've been all alone ever since your grandpa died, and so I'm just happy when you call me. Buying you a video game is the least I can do. The joy in the old woman's voice left the con artist at a loss for words. Your father and your uncles never come around to see me anymore. I'm so very happy you called. Thanks to you, I feel like I might live another 10 years. Forget 10 years. I want you to see 100 more years, Grandma. The young man managed to rasp. His eyes had grown blurry with tears. Massa? Yeah? Will you call me again? Yeah, I will. That's a promise now. I will, I swear I will. Alright, I'll talk to you later then. The man hung up the phone. Oh, they'll make that into a movie for sure, Ozzy said with a faint chuckle. You really have no sense for duplicity whatsoever. I don't believe Ozzy knows words like duplicity. The man hung his head. Oh, there's something even more unforgivable to me than that. Ozzy took a step forward, looming aggressively above the other man. The fellow began to tremble. Real men don't break promises. Ozu snatched the debtor by the collar and dragged him to his feet. I'm gonna have you work off what you owe me for real slow. The man blinked in confusion. You're gonna work under me for the rest of your life, and you're gonna keep up your act with that old lady until she dies. Huh? I'm not letting you break your promise to call her. Suddenly, a tiny hint of kindness showed through Ozu's gruff expression. Several years have passed since then. The younger man still makes the rounds with Ozu, still deep in debt. His name is Yutaro Segawa. His schedule for today involves collecting money at the apartment of some broke actor, putting pressure on the president of a publishing company with cash flow problems, and then shaking down some shady guy who's trying to sell some weird diet drink. That's real cute. Detective Sasume's pet name for his wife. Put the dash in there, probably. Yeah, there's no way I would have remembered any of this. Maki Yoenda. Oh, I remember this. She barely shows up. Yeah, we walk by, like, her little shop, like, once? If you selected the hint, it would tell you about a place in the story that will now allow you to unlock another special episode. Huh, interesting. One chilled curry soba and make it tasty. What are you talking about? Maki Yoenda snapped from the kitchen. Everything this old gal makes is tasty. I remember her, she was great. She grabbed a bundle of soba noodles and tossed them roughly into the roiling pot. Humming a tune to herself, she tended to the soba. She heard another faint humming join in, seemingly from out of nowhere. Alright, let's do this. The tiny voice had come down by Maki's feet. Another day for making delicious noodles. A different voice, this time from the shadows of the dingy kitchen shelf. Yeah. A series of diminutive figures, each about the size of a pinky finger, leapt out from amidst the haphazard assortment of spice jars. They lined up on the floor, these tiny little fairies, 7 in total, all carefully keeping out of Maki's line of sight. They were food sprites that had come from Italy, and they protected the flavor of Dogen Hut's soba noodles. Their leader, Mario, specialized in meat dishes. Salvatore could track down fresh ingredients in the blink of an eye. Cheerful Antonio was a wizard when it came to sauce. There was Marcello? I think it's Marcello, a wine connoisseur and the most sarcastic fellow in the world. Franco, the neat freak, loved a clean and tidy kitchen. None could outmatch the pasta-making skills of Fabrizio, who had a divine touch. Roberto, the quiet one, could tell you all about pizza dough. Oh, we were in a soba noodle shop. Maki set the finished bowl of chili curry soba on the kitchen table. Now, while the woman's back was turned, the sprites added more salt and dashi stock to the noodles. In the blink of an eye, the soba seasonings were refined to perfection. Magnifico! With their work complete, the fairies hid themselves once again. It's just, why had these 7 food sprites taken up residence at Dogen Hut? The story begins 2 years prior. Mario and the others had been dwelling in a 3-star restaurant in Rome when they'd heard rumors that there were 5-star restaurants popping up all over Japan. Naturally, as food sprites, they couldn't just stand idly by. Hey everyone, let's go to Japan! And so, heeding Mario's rallying cry, the gang snuck aboard a plane bound for Tokyo. I would watch this anime. It's weird, but I would watch this anime. But after finally arriving at their destination, they were unable to find any 5-star restaurants anywhere. By the time they realized that the rumors they'd heard had in fact been mere rumors, they were starving, nearly on the verge of death. They wandered about aimlessly until they arrived in Shibuya. Then, as they tottered their way up Dogenzaka, the aroma of curry tickled their noses. The scent came from a soba restaurant called Dogen Hut, partway up the hill. The sprites peeked inside and saw Maki and her husband busily at work. Sneaking into the kitchen, they found that scent of curry was wafting from a porcelain bowl. That's probably supposed to say bowl. On the counter. This was Dogen Hut's house specialty, chilled curry soba. Despite their misgivings, the sprites stole themselves a taste. What is this? The food sprites looked at one another in surprise. The dashi, soy sauce, and curry all come together in perfect harmony. The smooth and chewy noodles offer a different appeal than pasta. The group shouted in excitement, caught up in the moment. So taken were they by the chilled curry soba that they decided to settle down in Dogen Hut's kitchen from that day onward. But then the owner of Dogen Hut fell ill and passed away. After Maki took over her late husband's restaurant, it quickly became apparent that she had no talent for cooking whatsoever. Shockingly, she couldn't even tell the difference between salt and sugar, rice wine, and vinegar. That seems unlikely. And she had no idea how to make the soup for the chilled curry soba, sometimes tossing things like curry-flavored rice crackers and meat and potatoes into the pot. If Maki were left to her own devices, the restaurant was sure to go under. "We're the only ones who can save this place," Mario declared. None of the others had any objections. The flavor of the chilled curry soba was worth any effort. And today, yet again, that specialty soba was delighting customers' palates, thanks to the helping hands of the sprites. "Okay," Maki called out, "one chilled curry soba. Sorry for the wait." As delicious as ever, ma'am. You really can't get this flavor anywhere else." Down by Maki's feet, the sprites frowned. "We're the ones who made it, though." Maintaining the flavor of the restaurant's dishes was certainly worth doing. Recently, however, it had begun to feel a little empty. Nobody knew that it was the food sprites who made the soba special. Maki was the one who was always praised for how tasty it was. There were no finer joy in cooking than seeing the smiles on diners' faces, but despite all the sprites' hard work, no one had ever had a smile for them. They needed to remain hidden, but the lack of recognition still left them feeling rather lonely. "Oh, that's right," Maki announced brightly. "There's been some talk about releasing a Dogen Hut recipe book." With a start, the sprites looked up at her as one. The old woman was clearly overjoyed. Uh-oh. What do we do? A cold sweat broke out across the sprites' foreheads. This was Maki here. She'd probably write about how she made the stock using curry crackers and stuff. But as busy as you are running the restaurant, do you even have the time to write a book? The customer asked, between happy slurps of his soba. "Oh, don't you worry about that," Maki declared with a broad grin. "I'll get it written in my sleep." The customer blinked in disbelief. "You can't write a book while you're sleeping," he said. "Yes, I can. There are these little sprites who will write it for me while I'm in bed." "Oh, come on now. You're just talking fairy tales." The customer chortled loudly. Shocked, the sprites stared up at Maki. "Wait," one of them whispered. Does she?" added another. Suddenly, Maki cast her gaze downward. "You'll handle the book for me, won't you?" she whispered. You've known all along?" The sprite's jaws hung agape. "Of course I have," Maki murmured with a grin and a chuckle. "I don't know how to make chilled curry soba that tastes that good, so thank you. Because of you, my husband's restaurant has been able to go on." And when they saw the big smile on Maki's face, the sprites knew that all of their effort had been worth it. "Well, guess we've got to help out then," Mario said. "It'll take a bit of overtime, but we'll write your book for you, ma'am." "I'm not sure I like the idea of revealing our recipes to the public, though," Salvatore muttered. "And we'll have to put our hearts into the rest of the menu items, too, not just the chilled curry soba," Fabrizio added. Despite all of their grumbling, though, the sprites couldn't keep their happiness from their faces. This is a very strange story. I like it. So if I had selected... Oh, I see. How did you enjoy the tale of the loan shark's first meeting? We hope you found it entertaining. Now here's something tempting info for you. Osawa's story in the noon time block. Rubber gloves appear at some point. During that scene, the background zooms away, right? Try waiting for that moment to finish and see what happens. Have fun with that. See you next time. Huh, neat. think we probably have enough time to go through all of the
では
quiz
第
stuff.
3問
The discounted price for a miracle stone, including currency. This was like 20,000, I think? No, 5,000. Right. That's 10
お見事
originally, and then I think it dropped again for... I can't remember why. Oh good, it's Yanagishita. I was in France on business at the time, staying in a cheap apartment on the banks of the Seine? Seine? Monsieur Yanagishita, you must pay those 10,000 euros at once. Yeah, that was how Marcel Poitier, a general goods trader, greeted me when I opened my apartment door. It was the most unsophisticated bit of French I'd heard by far in my time there along the... Sure, Seine. I don't know how to pronounce that. Ah, well, you see, this is all rather sudden. 2 days earlier, I had purchased some health products from Marcel. We'd agreed that I could pay the 10,000 euro bill a month later, and now here he was telling me I needed to pay up at once. Monsieur, if you would please, 10,000 euros right now. Marcel, I'm sorry, but I don't have that money, I replied with my own halting French. We had a deal that I could pay a month from now, didn't we? It's not what I want to hear, Monsieur. What I want to hear from you is, oui, Marcel. Don't worry, I'll have it right away. I hadn't yet sold any of the health products I'd procured from Marcel. I was flat out of cash. I couldn't have paid up even if I'd wanted to. What in the world is going on? Why are you suddenly demanding that I pay right now? I need that money, whatever it takes. By this evening. He pointed a finger at me. You absolutely must have it by this evening. Otherwise, you'll find yourself sinking to the bottom of the Strait of Dover. I'll be in touch. And with that, Marcel departed. Oh man, now what am I gonna do? That bit of grumbling there was in Japanese. I don't have 10,000 euros anywhere. My reflection in the waters of the... Seine? I don't know what this river is called. Looked miserably distorted. Yanugi? Yanagi? Yanugi? I looked up. There's only one person who called me Yanugi, on account of not being able to pronounce my name. It's pronounced Sen? Isabel? Wait, Animal Crossing? No, that's wrong. The woman my heart had once burned for stood in the doorway. Isabel, what are you doing here? Oh, I can only imagine a dog now. Work. I'll be here in Paris for a while. They let me join Smash. I see. Well, what a coincidence. You're as beautiful as ever, I see. And your hairstyle is the same as ever, too. The sight of a familiar face bolstered my spirits, at least somewhat. She may have firmly rejected my advances, but I still loved her all the same. I've been hearing a lot about you, Isabel told me. The businessman who hops around all over the world. Oh, I'm just living on the edge, is all. And when you're doing business with the world, sometimes even though you know it's dangerous, you need to leap off that edge. Well, so there's this product that I simply had to recommend to you. Here. Isabel pulled a doll from her handbag and presented it to me. What's this? Isn't it cute? It's a mascot based on Indonesian folk art. Don't you think they'd be a huge hit in Japan? It had bumpy green skin and bloodshot eyes. There were sharp claws on the end of its lizard-like hands and feet. Not only was it not charming, quite frankly, it gave me the creeps. Look, I'm sorry, Isabel, but I don't think I need something like this. Why not? Why not, huh? No matter how I look at it, this just wasn't a design that would sell in Japan. Go on, push on its back. Its back, give it a push. I did as instructed. The doll's arms and legs waggled almost apologetically. See? Isn't that marvelous? Well... My brows knitted as I tried not to frown in front of her, but she sensed my efforts and her expression turned sad. Oh, you don't like it, do you? How many of these dolls do you have? I asked, feeling something like pity. Around 3,000 or so. Just lying around. Wow, 3,000. Would you take them off my hands? Look, I'm sorry, but I really can't. But if some other opportunity comes along... I see. I guess I should have expected that, with a doll this creepy. Isabel turned her back to me, forlorn, and then she muttered softly, I've been thinking of throwing in an extra 10,000 euros if you took them off my hands, but... Oh? What was that just now? Whoa, hey, hold on, Isabel, hold on. I hurried around in front of her. Could you repeat that, just what you just said, please? You said if I took them off your hands for you, I'd throw in 10,000 euros. That's it! I thrust my pointer finger forward triumphantly. With 10,000 euros coming in, I'd be able to pay what I owed Marcel. Okay, Isabel, because it's you, I'll happily take those 10,000 euros. Well, I mean, it's the dolls, not the 10,000 euros. Please give me those 10,000 euros. But the dolls. The dolls and the 10,000 euros. Okay, I'll bring everything here. How about tonight? No, now. Now, before tonight. I can't do that. Tonight's as soon as I can make it happen. Guess I don't have much of a choice. I'll just have to make Marcel wait a little longer. I murmured that last part so that Isabel wouldn't hear. So, alright Isabel, tonight then. Thank you, Unagi. And don't forget the 10,000 euros. Don't worry, I'll have it for you in cash. Isabel held out her hand. I really do appreciate this. I'll see you later tonight then. I shook her hand firmly. Likewise. Looking quite happy, Isabel departed. Oh, looks like I've got the 10,000 euro thing settled. I let out a breath I hadn't even realized I'd been holding. When evening came, Marcel returned. Do you have the money? No pleasantries, just right to dunning me. I decided not to point out his impertinence. Oh yes, absolutely, I replied, grinning as I gave him a thumbs up. Really? You really are the best friend. Now hurry up and hand it over. With a bright smile, Marcel held out one hand. Well, I can't give it to you right this minute. Why not? Didn't you just tell me you had it a few seconds ago? Please, you'll just need to wait until tonight. The 10,000 euros are coming then. Merde. Marcel snapped red in the face. Please, Marcel, surely you can wait a bit. We're best friends, right? Hear me out, that's all I ask. You're not my best friend, you're a liar. He who will steal an egg will steal an ox. Alright. Look, Marcel, calm down. If you just take it easy and wait until tonight, I can give you the money, I promise. Or would you prefer I take that swim in the Strait of Dover right now instead and give you nothing? That put Marcel's railing to an end. At that, he finally agreed, but he insisted on waiting with me. And so we both waited for Isabel, there in that cheap apartment. I sat on the floor, holding my knees, and Marcel followed suit. I suppose you must despite me for this, huh? He mumbled. He picked up a spoon that was lying on the floor near his feet and hurled it through an open window into the river. It disappeared with a sad, lonely plunk. I can't blame you, he said. What with how I showed up out of the blue, demanding that you pay up. Next, he tossed an alarm clock into the river. There was another plunk, as before. I suppose I owe you a proper explanation, Yanagishita. I mean, right now, I'd say you owe me a spoon and an alarm clock. Marcel was going to throw the TV remote next, but I reached out to stop him. Tell me, Marcel. So, I've been saddled with some merchandise that's a real pain, he began. The light of the setting sun shone upon his face. I could now see the bags underneath his eyes. The man looked exhausted. They say that whoever owns this stuff is cursed. His eyes quivered with fear. I also say that the curse stays with you until you can foist it off on someone else, he continued. I had no idea what he was talking about. But I think we're about to see it. Why can't you just throw the stuff out? If you do that, the curse only becomes more powerful. Now he was trembling dramatically. Whatever had spooked him, he wasn't his usual self, that was for sure. What's happened to you because of this curse so far, I asked. Well, for example, I'm loath to recount here what Marcel told me next, but suffice to say, it was horrifying. Oh my, that's awful. And so I marked these things down so that what's practically a giveaway price just to be rid of the lot, but I haven't sold a single one, and the warehouse storage fees aren't exactly insignificant. Marcel shook his head from side to side, his expression positively haggard. So, then I thought, maybe there was some fool someplace I could push the inventory onto. Just give it away. If I threw in 10,000 euros to go with it, someone had to be dumb enough to take it, I figured. I see. That's why you needed the money so urgently then. At last, I understood. But it's all right now. A little while ago, one of my colleagues called to say they'd found just the right sucker. That's good to hear. Yeah, so I need to go with them to hand over the money along with the product inventory. I see. You're a lifesaver, Yanagishita. Merci beaucoup? No. Denren? Deren? Marcel? I don't know French. Huh? What? What was that? Come again now? Man, it's hard to believe someone was dumb enough to actually want the stuff, even with 10,000 euros thrown in, Marcel said. He let out a little chuckle. Hold on a sec. Marcel, can I ask you something real quick? What is it? This colleague you mentioned, the one who found your sucker, it's not a woman named Isabel, is it? Oh, you know her? Yeah, Isabel's great. Got a real knack for finding marks. She's quite the lady. I did the mental math. I give 10,000 euros to Marcel. Marcel gives that 10,000 euros to Isabel, along with the cursed merchandise. Isabel gives me 10,000 euros and the dolls. I have the 10,000 euros to Marcel. Marcel? These cursed goods, they happen to be creepy green dolls? Ah, yeah. He flashed a broad, toothy grin. I slapped myself on the forehead, good and hard. Do you enjoy the tale of Dogenhut's unexpected secret? Shake off your amazement, because it's time for some new info. The Tama's story in the 2 o'clock time block. That suit she's lugging around on her back sure looks heavy. Try taking good look at her hauling that weight. What might happen? Huh. Okay, what's the other one? Yanigishida's bittersweet younger days. If you slapped yourself on the forehead along with him, we've got some new information for you. In Kano's story, in the 3 o'clock time block, there's a scene where Kano and Stanley are running. Maybe try sticking around for a bit. Yeah. Huh. Alright. Special episode.
行きましょう。第4問。
Question 4. Fill in the blank. You're the one making the blank argument here. Whoops, that's too many. Oh, no, it's not. Just saw extreme. Extreme!
正解。
I feel like the dolls were not all of his bad luck. The kinder partners. Oh, that's cute. Excuse me, do you have a moment? Tape recorder in hand, Chiaki called out to a pair of young girls who had been standing by the statue of Hachiko. Each girl carried a lollipop half the size of her face. What do you two think about Shibuya? The girls looked at one another. Do you not understand the question? Chiaki pressed. The children slowly looked away at their candy. Not really, one of them said at last. Chiaki was taken aback by the girl's grown-up tone. Mm-hmm, yeah? Yeah. The girls nodded at one another, their faces disapproving. Huh? Chiaki was confused. What's going on? Do we know you, lady? Huh? Ugh, see, this is why people keep saying that adults nowadays have no common sense. Yeah, ease off of the small talk. This is the first time we've even met, after all. Didn't your mom teach you any manners? Chiaki took a step backward and wrapped her arms around herself as the children stared at her coldly. I'm sorry to have upset you. It's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. Being treated like a child by small children made Chiaki blush bright red from embarrassment. Their arrogant reproach left her too flustered to fully process the situation. So what's up? One of the girls went on. Excuse me? Chiaki said warily. You were asking about Shibuya? Oh, yeah, of course. Recoiling from some more under the children's gaze, Chiaki chose her words very carefully. So, what do you two think about the city of Shibuya? Perhaps. The pair quickly lowered their eyes, their expressions forlorn. It used to be so nice way back when. I don't... way back? Just when was way back for these two? Nowadays, Shibuya's gotten all dead quiet. Yeah, it used to be back in the day you could just stand around here and see something interesting go down, day in and day out. Chiaki was utterly dumbfounded by the girl's ostensible worldliness. She listened in fascination as they continued. Yeah, but even then, that was maybe something that sort of hinged on your mood? I hear you. Maybe it's just our mindsets that's changed, that's all. So, I'm guessing you've got tests coming up? Yeah, my mom just will not shut up about nagging me to study. I'm about to start practicing for interviews myself. Oh, it's too early for that. Besides, if anyone messes up the real thing, it's the parent. At some point, Chiaki had become a bystander to the girls sirring back and forth. Man, I wish I had more freedom to do stuff. I've started taking piano lessons to help with the enrollment tests, too. Guess you'll never wind up rich if you don't go all out. I hate money. Rich people always have these awful sunken-in faces. Yeah, a while back, I saw a father and son buying an entire box of trading cards, and they both looked hideous. Yikes. It's kind of a sad story, though. The kid looked like he really wanted something else instead. That's the impression I got anyway. And as usual, the parent was completely oblivious. Yeah, and so the kid had to put on this fake smile of appreciation and everything. I know how that goes. Chiaki felt increasingly inclined to leave, but she wasn't sure how to do so gracefully. These 5-year-olds are very strange. Parents these days, she reflected, were foisting off an awful lot of things onto their children. They seemed completely ignorant of how much of a burden was way too much. As she stood vacillating, the conversation continued. But yeah, when our kindergarten teacher plays the organ, there's some real soul to it. It's so moving. Oh, I love her organ playing. Even if it doesn't have anything to do with the test prep, you need to learn how to play an instrument. Yeah, maybe I ought to change up my way of life. Chiaki began to feel ashamed of herself. Ashamed that she'd been so simple in her thinking as to expect this interview to be easy. These kids were having a real tough time of things. Feeling pathetic for her own shallow short-sightedness, Chiaki sank down to the pavement. Whoa. Hey lady, what's the matter? One of the girls asked. Chiaki hung her head. You got a tummy ache? Want some of this? The other girl held out her lollipop. No, it's not that. Chiaki was only barely managing to contain her tears. Are you worried that this interview's not going well? You shouldn't let it get to you. It's not the end of the world or anything. The cheer on the girl's faces brought Chiaki a small flush of consolation. Yeah, keep your chin up. We can keep going with the interview. We can talk about whatever. There's this place I grab food from a lot that my mom doesn't know about. Maybe we can talk there. They got these stupid tasty agar jelly strips. Agar. Yeah, my mom tells me I shouldn't spend too much on snacks, but you've got to sneak a little of that into your routine. The two girls gently patted Chiaki on top of the head. She could tell that it was just not going to be her day. That was weird. Did you enjoy our tale of these precocious preschoolers? No. None of us can go back to our childhoods, but we can give you some good hints. In Achi's story in the 3 o'clock time block, Achi and Hitomi are flagged down by Minorikawa. Take a close look after that. This path leads to a bad ending, so the clue might be tough to spot. Have fun looking for it. I liked the one about the food sprites. The 5-year-olds who have worldly wisdom is weird.
さあ第5問
Yeah. This weird plot point. I have the rarest blood in the world. Hey, it's Miku! Cosplay boxer something. A straight right came her way just as she let her down her guard. The blow caught her in the chin, and for an instant she saw white. As she was driven back against the mesh cage, a knee strike hurtled toward her. She managed to change positions just in time to dodge, then close distance with her opponent. Man, she's tough, Miku thought to herself. Bride's open-weight champion crybaby Mizuho was a dyed-in-the-wool, tried-and-true fighter. One of Miku's eyelids felt like it was badly swollen. She was having a hard time seeing. Mizuho's hardy frame was little more than a blur, and then the punch Miku had just taken had left her distinctly unsteady. What if this other woman rushed and tackled her? Oh man, I hope they do a side story of that girl who closed the restaurant. She was great. No doubt Miku would wind up down on the mat, where she'd be pummeled over and over. Or perhaps her opponent would instead make use of her expert footwork to deal out some more precision strikes. With the hurt Miku had already taken, dealing with that would be difficult as well. Miku was in a proverbial corner. Oh, how she wanted to just drive a fist right into Mizuho's big mouth. What are you gonna do, Miku? Did you come this far just to lose? Mizuho closed the gap. Her 180 centimeter tall, 80 kilogram frame came charging in. A thin smile showed on her doughy face. Miku had first seen Mizuho fight 1 year earlier. Her face radiated weakness and she cried when she got hit, hence her nickname, Crybaby Mizuho. But through her tears, Mizuho had fought desperately, managing in the end to pull off a joint lock that won her the match. The crowd went absolutely wild at the Crybaby fighter's underdog victory, but Miku was not convinced by Mizuho's performance. Mizuho was assuredly much stronger than she'd seemed. She'd taken karate lessons at a local dojo up through middle school. She'd been on her high school intramural wrestling team, and lately she had taken up jujitsu. There was no way a woman like that could be such a crybaby. She'd been fighting at half her potential in order to make things more fun for the audience. Miku knew that. Since the matches at Bride were part of the spectacle, making things fun for the customers was important. Even so, she wanted to see the champion fight at her full strength, and so she'd fought her way up the ladder to get that chance. After winning the match that put her in position for a shot at the title, Miku had grabbed the microphone and shouted to both Mizuho and the crowd, "Mizuho, next time you're fighting me, and we're fighting for real." Afterwards, the manager had been furious. By saying fighting for real, you made it sound like the other matches here at Bride are all fixed. It was true that the matches were indeed for real, with no outcome decided ahead of time. But Mizuho's crybaby persona was just an act, even if it was an entertaining one, and she spent the first part of each of her fights putting on a lot of fake tears. Miku scowled at the manager. "I don't want to fight crybaby Mizuho. I want to fight Mizuho. I want to fight that's full force from the get-go." "You dumbass," roared the manager. "Take one look at her." Amongst the slender-framed fighters on Bride's rosters, Mizuho stood out as a bulging and burly, and not even by the most charitable standards in the world could her face be called pretty. Mizuho's on the roster in the first place because of her crybaby character. If she gave that up, she'd be giving up her position at Bride. Miku fell silent. Was getting a legit fight out of Mizuho impossible then? She fretted anxiously about it until the title match finally came. Once the fight started, though, the other woman in the octagon was no crybaby. Mizuho unleashed a mighty punch the instant the gong sounded. The blow hit Miku like nothing she'd felt before. The impact shocked her even through her guard. Mizuho then shot forward like a rocket, tackling Miku against the cage. Miku clung to her tightly to avoid being taken to the mat. Mizuho whispered in her ear, "You wanted a real fight. Challenge accepted." Mizuho released her, then retreated to the center of the octagonal ring. Then she held out one hand, gesturing as if to say, "Bring it on." A confused uproar rose from the crowd. This wasn't how things usually went. Miku could feel every cell in her body jumping for joy. "Yeah!" She rushed at Mizuho with all her might. But the match quickly developed into a rather one-sided affair. Soon Miku was struggling just to avoid getting KO'd too quickly. Her opponent was strong, stronger than she'd imagined. Mizuho grinned as she charged forward. Miku was out of options. Was the bigger woman coming in for a tackle? As soon as Miku prepared to defend against a tackle, a wide hook came at her way instead. She barely managed to deflect it. Then Mizuho rooted her feet and launched into a flurry of punches. Miku was astounded by the fury of the attack. The champion threw punch after punch without bothering to guard herself. Finally, Miku was able to follow up with a single counter punch of her own. She landed a clean hit right on the bridge of Mizuho's nose. A stream of blood poured out from one nostril. With a gleeful grin, Mizuho stuck out her tongue and lapped at her own blood. Ugh. Then she set her feet once more and threw another punch. The powerful blow clipped Miku in the temple, and her head reeled. Enraged, Miku retaliated with a punch of her own. Neither of the two budged as they traded blows. Before long, amidst the cheers, Miku and Mizuho were merely pummeling each other. There was no skill, no technique, just two bulls butting heads. Miku's molars clattered, her lungs felt like they might burst. She was at her body's limit. Just a little longer. It was hopeless, she knew that, but she had to hang in there. Just one more punch, she told herself again and again. Just one more punch. Only halfway conscious, she continued battering back at her opponent. There was an especially loud cheer from the crowd, and then suddenly, someone grabbed Miku from behind. "Stop! Stop!" It was the referee. Mizuho had sprawled out at Miku's feet. Victory by knockout with a right hook. Even after the ref said it, Miku could scarcely believe what had happened. She stood there in a daze for a while, and then Misuho came stumbling over to her. "You got me," she said, fair and square. As soon as she saw the look of gratitude and respect on Mizuho's face, tears started streaming. That says dreaming. Tears started dreaming down Miku's cheeks. She tried to hold them back, but they just kept coming. "Hey now, only one of us gets to be the crybaby," Mizuho said, her voice husky with emotion. Tears had welled up in her eyes, too. The two clung to one another, weeping. "I'm so glad I was able to get a real match in the end," Mizuho whispered in Miku's ear. For several months after that, Miku defended her title. While she was warming up backstage one day, the manager came in carrying a cardboard box. "Package for you, Miku." The sender was Mizuho. The box was packed full of oranges. Mizuho had quite the day after their title match. Evidently, she'd gone home to take over her family's farm. Miku peeled the skin off of one, pulled off a section and ate it. The vibrant, striking, and bittersweet taste, so very reminiscent of their fight, filled her mouth with a little explosion. Why does everything have to explode in this game? Did you enjoy our tale of femme fatales forging a friendship through fighting? Well then put up your dukes, because we've got some new info for you. Minorikawa's story, 4 o'clock time block. Minorikawa takes a taxi to Heaven Publishing. He passes some strange writing on the road. Maybe take a closer look. Keep your eyes peeled and we'll see you next time. Huh. That was a thing.
第6問
Can I? Good. Because it's 9 o'clock. I know we're like about halfway through that quiz, but I don't think I can keep going. My throat is going to die on me. And so I would rather save more of this for tomorrow. Sounds like we've got like some other stuff we can look at through the game as well. There's the quiz, some hidden information. We still have to get all the bad endings if we want the true ending. So I think we'll play around with this game a bit more tomorrow. See what else we can unlock in it. Why not? It's been goofy and fun. But until then, tomorrow's stream starts at 6 p.m. Pacific time. I haven't gotten any new VODs up on the YouTube yet, because I've had a week where I've been busy. But I'll try and get those up soon. Alright, who's on right now? Alright, let's go raid Kate. We're gonna raid Kate, and I'm not gonna stick around too long for that. Because I need to go eat some food and take a break and do something else. But I'll see y'all tomorrow, and you take care. Do something nice for yourself, okay? Night.